I'm never gonna back down. Hand over my heart. I do this for my town. I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, my time. None of you people can tell me to stop.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be, and welcome to the Logitech McLaren G Challenge. It is week 2 of the quarterfinals, and we are here in the Asia Pacific region, where we move over to Sugo for 3 additional fantastic races across Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. My name is John Sargent, your host for the event, and I am joined by the wonderful, as always, Luke Crane. Look at that beautiful lighting and perfectly boxed in as well. Luke, you look proper chipper this morning.
I've had some people tell me how to do things, which is great because I'm useless at this stuff. But it's the Logitech McLaren G Challenge. We're here for the Asia Pacific region. I am super excited for this. I'm looking good. You're looking good. The drivers are looking good. And well, as you just said, we are at Sugo. What more could you ask for?
It's a really intense racing circuit, this, and very different, actually, to even some of the, well, pretty much all of the other regions that we have on the calendar. So I feel like, Luke, we have to touch on that first. Very quick lap time, very fast flowing circuit here. And there's, how do I put it? While the people who are going to be fast are going to be really fast, it also feels like the kind of circuit where a small mistake punishes you quite a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the fact that you said there people who are going to be fast are going to be really fast. I tell you what, John, that's the reason why you're here, for your professionalism and for your expertise. Love it.
It's the in-depth analysis. That's it.
Exactly. Perfect work there. Yeah, it's a very strange circuit. It's kind of like a karting circuit, if you like. But yeah, Sector 1 is so technical. And then Sector 2 is kind of more of an orthodox racing circuit. And then, well, the final sector, that is just ridiculous. The final corner here is one of those corners that if you get it right and you hit the apex perfectly, you can gain so much speed and momentum onto that long start-finish straight. If you get it wrong, you're going to end up into the barrier on the left-hand side, or you could take out the barrier on the inside as well. There's so many different obstacles there to indeed overcome. But then you've also got to factor in, they're going to be racing side by side with drivers as well. So it's my favorite circuit in the game. I'm not going to lie. I love Sugo. It's just ace. I don't really have anything more to say than it is just ace.
Well, we're watching some example footage of what you might be able to expect later on, of course, in the McLaren 650 GC. Really looking forward to seeing how these guys battled out toe-to-toe on the track. There'll be 3 races for all of you today. We're going to be starting with the Xbox race, where one driver is going to qualify for the regional finals straight away. We're then going to be moving into the PlayStation race and the PC race to round things off, where in each of those races, 2 drivers will qualify. So by the end of today, we're going to have 5 drivers that we know will be in the regional finals. Now, everyone else will actually still get another chance after this because they've got the wildcard qualifiers, but really, this is the main one. You want to be able to get one of those spots today and not have to worry about it. These guys have gone through a lot to be here. They dealt with all of the time trials just to get a slot in this quarterfinal in the first place, and now, for a lot of them, it really is just all the marbles to play for.
Yeah, absolutely. Destiny's in their own hands right now. They know exactly what they have to do here. If they do go for a wild card spot, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a racing event. It could be a time trial, it could be all sorts. So again, with a time trial, you could put your time in, and then someone could beat you with a few seconds to go. In the race, if you're in the lead, you're going to win out. But I think the most unique thing is that Xbox is winner takes all. Like the one driver is going to go through on Xbox, so it's going to be very tough for them to be cool, calm, and composed. It looks like we've only got 8 drivers here today, which is unfortunate. We should have had 11, but only 8 of them are available, which, it gives these drivers a bit more of a chance to qualify. I'm just excited. We're at Sugo. It's the Logitech G Challenge. There's nothing more that I get excited about. This is racing. It's sim racing. There's prizes on the line, a chance to qualify for their regional final, represent their region. Man, love it.
Let's talk about what these drivers can actually do and not do on this circuit, Luke, just a little bit before we... I believe we're going to get into qualifying now, but in a race situation, because of the nature of the Sugo track, is this more or less exciting for a driver that's, say, in second place chasing down first? Are we going to see a lot of overtaking opportunity here because of how flowing it is, or does that actually prevent people somewhat from getting alongside?
Well, slipstream's quite a big factor on this circuit, specifically Sector 2 and Sector 3. The first sector, it's a tough one. running through side by side there is only going to favour a driver in behind you. If there's two of you in first and second, talking hypothetically right now, so if you've got two drivers first and second, and then you've got a driver in third spot 3 seconds behind, if there's the first two go side by side through the whole first sector, they'll probably lose 3 seconds. So it will give a chance for drivers in behind to catch up. So you've got to be clever. You've got to utilise you know, the circuit to the best of your ability. But then when it comes to sector 2 and sector 3, there's some really big long straights here. And this corner here, we're on board with Fens, is the corner. You know, if you're going to set yourself up for an overtake down towards turn number 1, this is where you've got to absolutely maximize that exit speed. Make sure you clip that apex, and indeed then you've got the long run down towards turn number 1. Slipstreaming in this game is a huge factor as well. So again, it's just all about maximizing your performance. You know, you've been practicing for, you know, months, some of these drivers, weeks. They put in hundreds of thousands of laps to qualify for this stage of the competition. You know, it all comes down to this now. Preparation is all done. And, you know, you just got to make the most of the situation that is at hand.
So to recap the format for everyone watching it at home, you're now watching the qualifying session for the Xbox race here at Sportsland Sugo. And this session will last 10 minutes before we go to a 20-minute race. Now, obviously, because of the short lap time, it's quite likely that we're going to see many more laps than we did last week. And that's completely fine. Our goal is to see fast, close racing. And in an Xbox race where it's winner takes all, and only the person finishing on top is guaranteed to go through to the regional final, there should be pretty much all to play for. And I believe this lobby, actually, all but one, I'm not 100% sure who OUT is, but I believe everybody else here is actually from Australia in the Xbox regional finals. So just a very interesting note there. It's possible that this is an all-Australian grid.
Yeah, you know, Australia's got some huge talent, most notably on GT Sport. Very close to actually becoming a world champion on GT Sport, was an Australian driver. So, yeah, fantastic to see that they are still indeed represented across the world. And this driver here, Fens, actually qualified for the McLaren Shadow finals last year. So travelled all the way from Asia Pacific to the UK in Woking for a 4-day event. And he did very, very well indeed. Really, he's such a young man as well, and it was just a huge experience for him. So, yeah, he's going to be leaning on that. He raced against some of the very, very best in the world. It was indeed Kevin Siggy Rebenak, who did indeed take the spoils for the McLaren Shadow Finals. And, well, Siggy's gone on to huge things, as you well know, John. But Fens right now, again, this is his chance here just to assert his dominance, lean on what he's done before. You know, he will be the clear favourite going into this. But there are some really, really good drivers as well. Sadood, I've no idea about this driver, new to me. We've then got Newton, who drives for LSEM, a very reputable esports side. So I'm expecting big things from him. Darg74, he actually races in my leagues. So, yeah, I've seen Dargs race for a couple of years now. Never seen him at the top esports events, but this is the first time for him, so huge opportunity for Dargs to announce himself. Then we've got Gecko, new driver to me as well. I've not really heard too much about him. Then we've got Aussie Carters, 32, another new driver to me. And then we've got Outlaw Cartoon, who you just touched upon there. But again, this is what this competition is all about, John. You know, it's the Logitech McLaren G Challenge. It's opportunity. It's finding new talent. You know, this is an amateur competition to find, give people an opportunity. You know, every single year, new drivers become, you know, the age to be able to take part in this competition, and some of them are incredible. So you're always going to see new drivers coming through the system, and ultimately they go on to do big and huge things. So I'm excited to see, especially the Asia Pacific region, North America regions, where notoriously it's been like the, I would say the ability-wise in terms of across the whole nation, it's been a little bit less than, say, let's say Europe, but the gap is definitely closing in, like, for sure. The fact that Fens is, you know, one of the very world's best across multiple sim racing games now, just goes to show that there is some huge talent out that way.
SA Dude now putting in a very, very good lap to go, just outside a quarter of a second off of Fens as well to start off. I love that SA Dude has also told us where in Australia he's from. Ooh, a little bit of a wiggle there. Not sure if he's playing from Adelaide or otherwise, but clearly suffering from something inside that car, just trying to get everything warmed up before we attempt a couple more laps. And because the lap time is that much lower than we saw last week, for example, hopefully these qualifying sessions are going to be a bit more forgiving for the drivers as well. They'll have more opportunities to set a quick lap and hopefully an extra opportunity to pit and come back out to set one more before the session ends. But it is only 4 minutes left now, so we really are getting into the business end of things here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not too sure about Adelaide. Looked like he was driving a Marmalade there up towards that chicane, but he got it settled nicely. He's keeping the tyres nice and warm, and this is what he's doing now. He's just trying to get as much heat into the tyres as possible. There you can see, indeed, he's just moving left and right, and now he'll go in for another flying lap here. So I'm just going to go through this lap here with you all, just so I can show you the key parts of the circuit where indeed you can run wide and where you can't run wide. So if you look on the inside of the corner there's some like bollards, like rubber bollards. You hit them, they're full of water, so you just come to a standstill. But on the flip side, if you run out wide, you will go onto the grass and you will just keep going. So you will go off into the barriers. Across the line we go then to start a lap here at Sugo. We head then towards a double right-hander. You get on the brakes just after you see the track darken where the rubber's been laid down. You can run a little bit wide there through turn 1, and you can run a little bit wide through turn 2, but you've got to get as far right there as early as possible to set yourself up for this left-hander. It can be flat out if you hit it perfectly. And then we've got this left-hander here as we come up the hill. So it's a downhill braking zone, but an uphill acceleration zone. Then through the chicane here, if you catch the curbs perfectly, which he didn't do that time, you can indeed go through there flat out as well. But as you can see, there's so little time to set yourself up for the next corner. And it's all about trying to get some momentum. It's all about trying to get some sort of rhythm. And now you come into sector 2, or, we're in the midway of sector number 2 and then to sector number 3. A lot easier section. So sector 1 is where you're going to lose and gain the most time. If you can set yourself up on this straight downhill, down towards the hairpin here, if you can get a very good exit out of the right-hander down the hill, you can indeed set yourself up for an overtake down and towards there. But it's not the craziest braking zone because it's quite an open hairpin. And then we've got another double left-hand. You can run a little bit wide there. You cannot run wide here. So if you run wide onto the curb there on the right-hand side, it will grab you, it will push you out, you will get a slowdown penalty. And if there's one position on this circuit you do not want a slowdown penalty, it is coming onto the back straight. Because if you want to be maximizing that speed, you want to be going at the top speed you possibly can be, which SA Dude is now indeed sorting himself out. This won't be a quick time, but indeed he's figured that out. If you do get a slowdown penalty there, you're going to lose so much time, you're going to lose so many positions, and you're just going to lose so much momentum. So you may get a 3-second penalty for running wide, but you would take that. In my opinion, you take the penalty, you don't slow down, and you just have that time added to the end of the race. If you take your slowdown there, you're going to lose much more time. But again, we're watching SA Dude come up towards the chicane here, and is he going to go for it a little bit better? You've got to turn a little bit earlier there. You've got to try kind of not hit the sausage parts of those curbs, John. As we head then towards sector number 2. But he's looking a little bit better. He's learned from his mistake on the previous lap. And again, like I said, they've got loads of opportunities here. And it's better to do it in qualifying than indeed in the race.
The Caster Curse almost coming in there as he had a big moment in between, but you're absolutely right. It's a little bit more tidy this time around, and SA Dude should be able to get a faster lap time there. Fens, though, in the meantime, has just come in and blitzed the field with a 1:17.5, so with a minute and a half to go, someone's going to have to pull out something very spectacular in order to overcome that and take pole position here in the Xbox race. I'm not really sure who I'm actually behind at the moment, because until that lap time was set, I sort of had my allegiances torn. You see, SA Dude, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I'm a Melbourne boy myself, so I'm very much Victoria. So seeing SA Dude up there is pleasing, but they are absolutely the rival. So I wonder where Fens is playing from. Maybe someone in chat will be able to tell us if he's playing from Victoria, New South Wales, or elsewhere. I'll be very curious to know. But a blistering lap time set there.
Good for you, John. Really brave of you there to admit you're Victoria on weekends. So yeah, good work. I applaud you.
Thank you.
But yeah, I have no favourites because I'm a professional, John. Although Fens is actually one of my friends, so they have a little soft spot for Fens. He's a really nice guy as well, but he's clearly 1.1 second ahead at this point. He's looking the strongest out of everybody, and he's going to try and do what Operator did last week, although he did get impeded, didn't he? So Operator was expected to lead out from the start last week, but it didn't quite work out for him. But he did still get the victory. So Fens is going to be wanting to do that. He doesn't want any dramas, any worries right now. He just wants to get himself into the regional final by getting out in front, win this race. Job is a good one. But then you've got drivers such as SA Dude, who will want to throw the spanner in the works. We've then got LSEM Newton. We've then got Aussie Carters as well. They all want to try and get an absolute flyer of a start, get up ahead, because it's so difficult to make overtakes in Sector 1. If you can get out ahead here, maybe force someone like Fens to be in the mid-pack. That's where the incidents happen. We saw some incidents last week. Anything is possible. Like, this isn't time trial now. You're not on your own on circuit. This is where it really matters. So, again, it's one of the only esports in the world where you have a direct effect on your competitors. You can indeed, slyly have a little bit of contact with a driver. We don't obviously condone it, but that is just the nature of the beast.
Absolutely is. And in a circuit where you can see we have to take such a tight line to really nail every single apex and every single corner, especially through Sector 1, like Luke mentioned earlier, it's all that much more important. If you try and go side by side with someone, you could end up just losing a truckload of time to the cars behind you, so you need to make sure that move sticks. There are some scenarios where it's okay to lose a bit of time if you gain that position, but you better make sure you know how to hang on to it, because there are going to be cars behind you ready to pounce on the fact that you have just slowed down. And ahead of such a quick Sector 2 and 3 as well, you need to be able to pick your pouncing spot very, very carefully indeed. Otherwise, you'll gain 1 and then lose 2 or 3.
This place, Sugo, John, is full of magic. In my own leagues that I run, this is always a finale. We always have Sugo as the finale. It's called the Sugo Showdown, and there's reasons for it. In the first ever season we had 2 drivers who were in 15th and 16th in the championship, bottom 2, and they had to come first and second. They'd got no results all season to get out of the relegation zone. They actually finished first and second. It was incredible. And another championship, we had a driver who was leading the race with 1 lap to go, and if he finished higher than 5th, he would win the championship. He spun out on a curb on the final lap, came 5th, and lost the championship on countback. This place, anything goes, honestly.
Well, Fens has managed to take pole position, and he is from Perth, actually, so a little bit closer to us than the rest of them, arguably. SA Dude will be able to cement 2nd place on the grid, although by less than half a tenth of a second from Newton, who lines up just behind Fens in 3rd. We then got Aussie Carters in 4th, ahead of Got Gecko. Outlaw Cartoon will be lining up in 6th, and Dogs will be the final car on the grid in 7th. Now, remember, only the winner from this race is guaranteed a spot in the regional final.
It is winner takes all. It is race number 1 of the day here then for the Asia Pacific quarterfinals. We're at Xbox first then. Only first matters. But I tell you what, the times were relatively close. Apart from Fens, take Fens out the equation, there was around about 0.4 of a second between the rest of the grid. So very, very much excited to see how this plays out. As usual, they've got 2 minutes to ready up here before we do indeed go. Hopefully, with only 7 drivers on the grid, they're a little bit faster than what the North Americans were. It's going to be ready up watch at this point.
Pop quiz, again, Luke. Does Fens just drive off into the distance, or are we going to see some action on lap 1? What do you think?
All depends on the start. Like, I quite favour the inside off the start, but I quite favour the outside line through turns 1 and 2 if you're side by side because of the second part of Sector 1. So Fens has to get the good start here, really. He is kind of an all-rounder. He's not a Project Cars 2 specialist. So that's something that the drivers in behind him could probably look at, because I would imagine that they've sunk in so much time into this game and it might be their favoured game. Fens is just good at everything. He is one of those people that you dislike just because he's so nice and he's good at everything. So yeah, I'm really quite excited to see how well he starts here, but this is the only opportunity for me. They have to get ahead of him now, otherwise it could be curtains. Well, we're about to go green here then for our first race, and wow, I'll tell you what, Fens has got an absolute flyer, and also so has P3. As they head down in towards turn number 1, are we going to see a late lunge here? No, we do not. We do not see that late lunge. You can see some side-by-side action then for P2 and P3. SA Dude then racing with Newton, LSEM Newton. And you can see there a little bit of a check-up from Aussie Carter. Got a little bit too close there. Big moment there for Dargs. Dargs runs wide, and he's actually now in down to 7th position. But indeed, unfortunately, he was facing the wrong way, and in the field such as this and how strong they are, it's going to be so tough for them to make any potential inroads now already this early in the race. But it is indeed Fens that leads the way, and he's got the dream start right now. John, he was the quickest in practice or qualifying by about a second, and now he's driving off into the distance.
And this is exactly what we feared might happen if Fens got a nice clean start, already about a second ahead of second-placed SA Dude. So doing tremendously well. SA Dude coming under a lot of pressure from Newton, wanting to get an overtake done early rather than have to wait and pace later in the race. There's still quite a lot of time to go, of course. It's a 20-minute race as opposed to something that's limited by the number of laps. So the number of overtaking opportunities, provided you can stay close to the car in front, are quite large. And this slipstream that Newton is about to get is going to be very large indeed.
Absolutely, he'll try and get this move done. Newton actually has been very clever here. He didn't want to cost them both times, so he hasn't tried to make a move at all on the previous lap, on lap number 1. And actually, you can see that the fence runs a little bit wide. So does SA Dude. The door's open, but closes up on Newton as quickly as it did indeed open, and the opportunity is no longer presenting itself. And actually, if anything, SA Dude's sorting himself out here. Oh, big tank slapper off the curb there for Newton. He just about recovers here. Where is Aussie Carter? So Carter not quite close enough to take full advantage. And the only real question is, can Fens keep it between the white lines? So penalties around this circuit, John, they're crazy. They're just so easy to get. As soon as you run 2 wheels or for all four wheels, sorry, past the white line on the exits or entrances of corners, you are going to get a penalty. And actually, SA Dude might be in for a penalty himself right now. We'll see if he checks up and if he does indeed slow down as they head down in towards the hairpin here. But I'm going to be very surprised if we don't see a red mark come across SA Dude's name. And again, it's one of those circuits where on most of the time when you get penalties, it's going to be on the back straight or the start-finish straight. So it's kind of in your sort of best interest to just take the penalty on the chin and not lose too much momentum. But as it stands, Fens has now gained another 2 seconds here. He is now 2 seconds, 0.6 up on the rest of the field. And I'll tell you what, I think Newton's the faster of the two drivers at this point, but Newton just cannot find that opportunity as we go over the crest then across the start-finish line to end lap number 2. And I think Newton has just about got a nose up the inside here. SA Dude then has left the door wide open. They come through turn number 1. And wow, I tell you what, fair play to SA Dude because he was so respectful there, left the door open, but Newton still needed more room there. He was the one that ran wide, and he wasn't on the brakes early enough here. And again, he's on the power a little bit early, up the inside here, and again, is he going to shove him out wide? No, he's not. Side-by-side action, but this is only going to hemorrhage time for both drivers. And SA Dude there's been clever again. SA Dude there's left the room. He doesn't want to lose too much time, and now all of a sudden, we've got Ozzy Carter very close in behind. Ultimately, only one of these drivers, or only one of the 7 drivers, actually go through here. And with these guys are not battling for the lead, is Fens, who leads the way now by 4.6 seconds. He's going to be looking in his rear view mirror, be really happy with what he's seeing. And actually, at this point, probably seeing not much at all now because he's so far ahead.
Really nice move there from Newton, needing to get it done and needing to get it stuck as well, because you guys saw what we were talking about earlier, how Ozzy Carter was able to just get right up close as soon as that overtaking maneuver was done. Both drivers in front of him losing time in that, but Newton lining himself up beautifully, first on the outside and then down the inside of SA Dude to take second position. The question now becomes, can they close the gap to Fens out in front? 4.6 seconds now already after the first 4 minutes. So we need to see that gap close to below 4 seconds in the next lap or two for these guys to realistically have a shot at overtaking in the second half of the race.
Yeah, for sure. You know, Newton just needs to put in some qualifying laps right now. Just close that gap a little bit. Just give something to Fens to think about. Oh, big mistake there. And though SA Dude is gone, he is out of this race. Well, he's not out of the race, but he's out of the hunt at the front end here. Well, where is he right now? Is he coming back on circuit? He is. He's coming back on circuit now. And he ends up down into 6th position. And he fought, Dargs there, right up the rear then of SA Dude. I think SA Dude was trying to let Dargs go through, but then realised that Dargs wasn't quite close enough. And now they're going to end up battling here for position. Dargs on the power too early, loses the rear of the car. And that is not ideal here. So now Outlaw Cartoon and Ozzy Carter and P4 and P3. But the big question here is Newton now. Can he ask some questions? So we were speaking about this last week, John. We had a couple of runaway leaders, and it was all about, you know, if you could get into this position. We saw it especially in the Xbox race last week, where P4 and P3 were battling for position, and it was P4 we thought was the quickest driver on the circuit, but they just couldn't get the overtake done. So they weren't able to put any pressure on the front two, ultimately meaning that they got an easy victory. They were able to qualify for the regional finals. Well, now Newton has got it done early. He's got 14 minutes to go, and he's probably lapping similar times here. 18.7 for Fens. Across the line we go for Newton, and it's an 18.8. So he has got similar pace here, and you know, Fens has had it easy up until this point with 5 minutes gone in this race, and now he's going to definitely have in the back of his mind like, oh, I can't really afford a mistake now because indeed Newton is as quick.
Yeah, I think you've hit the conversation topic on the head here. Last week we had arguably the quickest driver, well, certainly behind first place in the field, stuck in 4th place for the majority of the race. But because Newton has gotten the move done nice and early, there is a unique opportunity for him now to try and close the gap. The big difference maker, I think, is not necessarily going to be in pace. We've seen so many examples already in this race of very tiny mistakes costing these races valuable time, and quite a lot of time as well. You just get 2 wheels on the grass in Sector 1, and suddenly you're not losing a couple of tenths, you're losing a couple of seconds here. So the goal is going to be consistency, and for Fens not to make a mistake. Because even if Fens is, say, a couple of tenths a lap slower than Newton from here on out, there's a good chance that he can hold on to a 5-second lead to win the race from this point. So the goal now is consistency and avoiding that mistake. If we see Fens have a wobble, we've got a race on our hands.
Well, he's been asked a question, and he's answering it beautifully well here. He's actually gained about 0.4 of a second here. It's going to be a 19.3 or thereabouts for Newton, I would imagine. Across the line he goes. It's 19.4, so it's pretty close there. So yeah, he's gained around about 0.4 of a second on that lap, half a second there. And again, questions being answered. Oh no, it's a big mistake there. And has he saved that? Oh, Newton, that's a hell of a save. Now I need to check out exactly what assist he's using. And oh, there we go. Okay, so he's using the traction control, so that makes sense as to how he saved that, because that car looked like it was unsavable. And again, we were talking about the assist last week. He's losing time now, especially around a circuit like this, the final corner. You lose so much time because you are leaning on the car. You are basically sliding the car around the final corner, and the traction control will be kicking in here for Newton. So Fens is got it all to lose at this point. We did just see Outlaw there make a mistake on the previous lap, but he's sorted himself out. He's close in behind Aussie Carter. Aussie Carter now up to P4. SA Dude now is trying to get back involved here. Looks like we've got some damage to both cars, though. They've not had the best of times. That is for certain. So we'll check it out from Outlaw Cartoon perspective in behind Aussie Carter. And well, John, as it stands, it looks like Fens is going to continue the tradition of how well he's been doing in esports over the last 18 months. And well, another victory is on the cards.
It definitely looks that way. 6 seconds up after 6 laps completed is a big sign that there are big things to come here for Fens. Still plenty of opportunity, of course, to make those mistakes we were talking about earlier, but Fens is very quickly approaching that sort of scenario where, let's say he does make a mistake, and let's say 2 wheels do go on the track at some point in Sector 1 or similar, or he gets a brief slowdown penalty, he's still going to emerge from that, assuming he doesn't bin it, in first place. So he's built himself up enough of a cushion now that he can't quite take it easy for the rest of the race yet, but he can take a slight edge off his lap time if he needs to preserve anything and just make sure that he keeps all 4 wheels on the tarmac. So very well driven so far, and Newton, like you say, he asked the question, but Fens, we have to give him credit, he's responded beautifully.
Well, it's every lap. 118, 118 sixes, 118 sevens, 118 8 on the previous lap. And he just looks like he's driving within himself as well. He's not using all of the curb on the exits of corners. As I say that, he uses all of the curb on the exit of a corner. But yeah, he's just driving within himself at this point. Newton just did a 120.1, so Newton's got the pace. Consistency not quite there, a couple of seconds off of where he needs to be if he wants to go out and win this race. And yeah, Fens just showing everybody how good he is. So I'm really, really excited to see Fens potentially, of course. You know, we don't know who's qualified from our races here, but we've got a Leif Hamilton, who, of course, was in the world final of the G Challenge last year. He'll be racing very, very soon here, and I'm looking forward to see if he qualifies and someone like Fens qualifies, them two racing against each other. So there's some stories going to be happening in the Asia Pacific region, and well, this is just the first chapter right now, but Fens is doing exactly what he needs to do. A 119.1 then, so he's taken a couple of tenths off of his lap times, but again, still the fastest. You can see Newton's just done a 119.3, and if Newton wants to win this race, he has to get into the 18s every single lap now. And actually, to be fair, through the first sector, it looks like he's actually taken a little bit of time out, because it was 7.2 seconds the lead. Now it's down to about 6.4. That could be a bit of a timing bug in terms of the track, though. So, again, we will have that all confirmed. It's going back up now ever so slightly as well. But, again, Newton does have some serious pace, but when you're driving against someone who's, I say a seasoned veteran, he's such a young man, is Fens, but he is, in terms of esports now, a seasoned veteran. It's so difficult when they've got so much experience ahead of you.
Just a little bit of dust being kicked up by the wheels on the left side of that car there from Newton, losing a couple of tenths, but not really putting him off his racing line. Gap back up to approximately 7 seconds flat now at the front. Fens has let his foot off the gas just a bit, but again, driving within himself, Luke, I think were your words, and that it looks like he's just doing that in reaction to the lap times that are being set behind him. I think he's feeling fairly comfortable with where things are at the moment. A 119.3 as well, as we approach the halfway point. We've just passed halfway, ladies and gentlemen, in this race. So the gap now is 6.5 seconds, and that has to be the goal. Can Newton cover 6.5 seconds and overtake in just over 9 minutes?
Yeah, it's going to be tough here, and, you know, if he does do it, he will definitely have deserved this spot in the regional finals, that's for sure. So it's a big challenge, and again, Fens could make a mistake. As you can see, the times are dropping now, and that is due to the tyre temperatures. So the temperatures now will be screaming. It's just such a tyre lean-dependent circuit. You're also leaning on the weight transfer of the car as well, which of course is going to increase load on the tyres. So the tyre temperatures are going to be screaming through the roof here as well, especially with that final corner being so treacherous. So they are going to start losing time on their lap times. And it's whether Newton can balance out here, balance out a little bit better in terms of reading that situation. It's now about preparation. You know, who's been doing the 20-minute races, who's been doing the race scenarios in their practice, and who's been doing just flying laps at this point. And I think Newton's made a mistake here. Oh, he does. Yeah, there we go. The timing was coming down. And, well, you know, he's out under pressure because Fens just keep putting in those lap times of 19. Mid-19s is going to be enough here on out. Across the line he goes here. and he's just done a 19.5. So the times are getting slower and slower and slower, but ultimately, it doesn't matter. He doesn't need to be going faster here, John. You know, he just needs to be consistent, just keep it in check, and he's all good.
It does feel a little bit like Fens can almost telegraph exactly what kind of lap time Newton is going to be doing and just sort of pips in at an extra tenth or two. Obviously, that last lap due to the mistake, Newton actually losing a second or two, which isn't ideal. So the gap now up to significantly more than it was before, just under 8 seconds. Darg there, having to get out of the way. Not having the greatest race, a lot of damage to the front of that car, unfortunately, due to getting on the power a little bit too earlier on. And taking a look at the kind of mistakes, Luke, that the drivers have had in this race, we saw a reasonably large percentage of mistakes in Sector 1. So the sort of technical, tricky section. We have had cars getting too much on the curbs, getting two wheels on the grass, all sorts on the new tyres. Now that the tyres are starting to scream a little bit, are we likely to see the mistakes creep in elsewhere? Or do they just amplify the mistakes in Sector 1? Where are you expecting someone to potentially fluff up a little?
Yeah, I wouldn't say mistake. Like they're a bit more comfortable because they've been racing for 14 minutes now, so they've kind of like you gradually feel the tires getting hotter. It's not something that just is like a switch. So they're going to be comfortable. You know, at the start of the race, the first lap is all unknowns, isn't it? Well, not unknowns. You've obviously started many races, but it's a case of you making snap decisions. But when you've done sort of 10, 15 laps, we're in a lap 11 now, you know, you've taken these corners, you've realised that, oh, I need to brake a little bit earlier there on the next lap because the tyres are starting to overheat. But, you know, I'm going to talk about Dargs here. How impressed I am here. Okay, he's a lap down, and yeah, he's going to be gutted by that, and he would have planned to be a lap down at this stage, but he still had the presence of mind to let the leader go through there. Like, there was no thought of just about himself and about how he's doing. He was always thinking about other people outside there. And that just goes to show that he does league racing. He's got experience within the esports and just good sportsmanship, really. You know, ultimately they do have to move themselves out of the way, but some people make it a lot harder than others. But Dargs, fair play to him. He got out of the way. It's not been the greatest of days for him, but you know, this is the first of many, I think, for someone like Dargs. He's a very, very quick driver. I don't think this car particularly suits him. He's more of a touring car specialist, which is a front-wheel drive. They're a little bit built. They're built a little bit stronger, I guess, in terms of like contact and stuff like that. But also, they're just maybe a tougher car to drive than a GT3, and I think that's where he will come into his own. But he's done well. He's got to this stage of the competition. It's something he can indeed lean on moving forward over the next few years. You never know. We might see him again. We've got SA Dude as well. He's 26 seconds behind. But I tell you what, as much as it is all about just getting P1, you still want to try and make an overtake at the end here. And, well, unfortunately, that will not happen, as he has just absolutely binned it there through the double left-hander. And I'm wondering whether he's going to be able to get going. And no, we have our first retirement of the race. And, I'm gutted there because ideally, you want to see all these drivers finish. You want to see them get across the line. You know, for some of them, it's their first ever esports experience at this level, but ultimately, it's not going to work out there. So, yeah, SA Dude, hopefully you'll come back next year and have some better fortune. He was right at the front at the start of this race, and it's just not gone too well. As you can see in the background there, Dargs then, who's been lapped, is in between him and indeed Newton, but with 4 minutes 30 seconds to go, it's looking good for Fens here, John. We said he was going to be the favourite before this because of what he has achieved so far, and well, this book of achievements is just in the middle right now because we are writing new pages every single day with this driver.
Doing phenomenally well. It's almost it's almost boring to say consistency is key, but it's boring because drivers like Fens make it look boring. That is how good they are, and that's how well they're able to keep their abilities in check, to not sort of overstep that boundary and potentially make a mistake. We just saw SA Dude unfortunately bow out of the race, but what an entertaining drive we had from SA Dude today, battling right up at the front of the field to trying to climb back from pretty much the back of the field as well, before unfortunately hitting the wall in that rather spectacular incident, leading us to the DNF. It's been all sorts of highs and lows for SA Dude today, but ultimately the consistency is what was lacking, and that's what Fens has got out in front. 7.8 seconds ahead, and I really don't know how Fens is doing it, but it's almost just half a tenth every single lap on Newton at the moment, just refusing to let that gap come down. With 3.5 minutes left to go, barring a giant mistake, Fens has pretty much got this in the bag now. But Newton can at least still see him down the other end of the straight, and he's saying, well, hang on a second, if you do something particularly egregious, I will be able to overtake. So don't write home and tell them of your victory just yet.
Yeah, 2 laps to go. Fens still has to get the job done. So he's done 13 laps right now. It'll be 14 laps as he crosses the line here. Still work to be done, but he's been in this position before. He's managed to qualify for big events before. So, yeah, it'd be very, very unlike him to indeed make a mistake. And we talk about all of the drivers here, John, like, no one can ever take away this opportunity they've had. They've been raced in the quarterfinals of the Logitech McLaren G Challenge. We didn't even have a quarterfinal phase last year. It was all time trials into the regional finals. So it's nice to have this extra step of racing before we do indeed head to the regionals. But again, this is something they can put on their CV in terms of sim racing. You know, for some of these drivers, it's the first ever time they've raced at this level. And it's, again, leaning on that experience. It's a big story. Some of these drivers are, you know, coming to the end of their story in terms of what they've achieved. You know, some of them are still like Fens. He's young, but he's achieved so much already, but he's going to try and achieve more. And we've got some drivers that is right at the beginning of their story. And if you'd asked them maybe 12 months ago, do you think you'd be racing in the Logitech McLaren G Challenge quarterfinals? They'd be like, yeah, not a chance. Well, they have done it now, regardless of whether it might not be the strongest of regions or the strongest of platforms. You are the strongest on that platform for that region. That is your accolade to hold on to it, and improve from.
You're absolutely right. I don't really think there's much to add there, because once you get here, no one can take that away from you. You've done it, and at the end of the day, of all the drivers that qualified to the quarterfinal, at least here, only one can make it through to the regional final. So there's going to be more disappointment than jubilation for sure, but just making it here in the first place, what people don't see is all of the work, hundreds and hundreds and possibly even thousands of laps that go into time trialing, sort of playing around with your settings, trying to squeeze every tenth you possibly can out of the car just to be on the grid for this race in the first place. And that's what people don't necessarily see, but that really is where all the hard work comes in. What Fens, Newton, and the rest of the field are doing right now, that's just the culmination of the hard work. Yes, you still have to get it done on the day, but the prep work, it's like sitting on top of a pyramid. This is beautiful, it's fancy to watch, but at the end of the day, it's everything else that really is where the effort got put in.
It's sacrifices as well. Like, not only did Fens sacrifice, you know, he had to come to the UK from Australia last year for the McLaren Shadow Finals, but his whole family did as well. They sacrificed their holiday and came to the UK for a holiday for him to compete. It was incredible, absolutely incredible to see. So he deserves everything it's coming his way. The only decision he's got to make now is...
I'm planning a 2-week vacation in Woking.
Sorry?
Lovely part of the world. I'm planning a 2-week vacation in Woking. Lovely part of the world. Let's get the family out.
Yeah. There's the lovely Pizza Hut there, yeah.
Exactly.
But will Fens now slow down so he doesn't have to do an extra lap here? Because obviously doing an extra... Well, there's the answer. He's going to cross the line. But doing an extra lap here gives an extra opportunity to make a mistake. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why drivers do this, but they just drive flat. He had a big enough gap to indeed slow down, cross the line, win the race. But he's not. He's gone for the extra lap, which is fair enough. And he can treat this as a parade lap. But one day we're going to see it. One day we're going to see a driver when he could have stopped and gone slower, crossed the line because of the way we have timed races here. And on the final lap, they're going to bottle it, and it's going to be game over. But I don't think we're going to see it from Fens. I think he's going to be all good. Newton actually has got a penalty here as well, which is, let me just check out the actual penalties. 1 second time penalty then for Newton as it stands. But it doesn't matter. Again, you know, he is going to get a podium here. Outlaw's going to get a podium as well. So the Outlaw cartoon. So in the quarterfinals of the Logitech McLaren G Challenge, you were a podium driver in the quarterfinals. So congratulations. Well, indeed, if he does cross the line in there, he's made a mistake there actually. So Ozzy Carter will be trying to sweep that podium position if he possibly can. Doesn't look like he's quite close enough here. But we've got 1 corner remaining, and well, pending any adjudication towards this race from the stewards, we will be able to crown Fens a regional finalist for the Logitech McLaren G Challenge. He was nowhere near anyone during this race. There was no contact with anybody. He's going to have qualified. Across the line he goes, and it's another feather to the bow, or another string to the bow, another feather to the cap. Trying to say 7 different lines with one line in total. I don't know what's going on right now, but he will indeed take the spoils here. And well, in second position, it will indeed be LSEM Newton. And then we will have Outlaw Cartoon, who will take the podium spot there. And John, what a performance it was. Fens fully deserves it.
Brilliant race from start to finish from Fens. I was looking for the odd mistake, maybe kicked up a bit of dust occasionally, but frankly, that was it. Consistency is key once again, and Fens shows us exactly why they deserve to be in the regional finals. I want to get a little bit of a shout out as well to Outlaw, because Outlaw started almost pretty much at the back of the field and managed to come back and grab that podium spot. Absolutely phenomenal race from Outlaw Cartoon, and commiserations, of course, to SA Dude, who bowed out early. So those are your results, provisional at least. You've got Fens there in first position, Newton taking second place, and Outlaw in third. Aussie Carters, Gecko, and Dogs will be the remaining cars that finish this race, with, of course, one, presumably Fens, moving through to the APAC regional finals for the Logitech McLaren G Challenge. So fantastic stuff from them. Of course, next up, we've got two more races. We've got the PlayStation race and then the PC race to follow. Plenty more action coming on. How did you feel that race went away from Fens, Luke? Obviously, Fens drove absolutely imperiously, but there was actually more action than we expected further down the field.
Yeah, there's a few mistakes as well. It looks like Nerves got the better of a few drivers. But there was some nice side-by-side battling. Lots of respect shown as well, especially between Newton and indeed Aussie Carter. Those two really showed some respect for each other and actually cost each other a bit of time in the end, really. But running side-by-side through Sector 1 is so vital that you don't do that. But that's just the way it goes. And Dargs, unfortunately, being a lap down, but still showing the sense of mind to give up the position to the leaders coming through and not holding them up. So, yeah, all in all, really, really good. It's the first race. We've got two more to come. I'm excited for the rest of the show.
Right, well, we're one race down with two to go in the APAC region for the quarterfinals of the Logitech McLaren G Challenge. One driver is now through to the regional final, and we're going to be putting two more through from the PlayStation platform coming up next. Grab yourself a drink, maybe get yourself a nibble to eat if you're hungry, but come back here in a couple of minutes because we're going to be getting ready to set up the PlayStation race. See you soon. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be. This is the Logitech McLaren G Challenge 2020. We are one race down in 3 races we're going to be broadcasting for you today. This is, of course, the quarter-final day for the APAC region. We've already managed to get one person through to the regional finals. Fenn's done a brilliant job there, sailing through the Xbox race in first place and guaranteeing himself a slot in the finals. Arguably, Luke, no surprises there, but we've now got 2 slots up for grabs in the PlayStation race.
Yeah, 2 slots. A lot more drivers in this race as well. So, yeah, there's actually, percentage-wise, a less opportunity for them to get through, even though there's an extra spot. But there's a couple of more well-known drivers in this, and I think we're in for an absolute barnstormer for this one.
We did see Fens do an incredible job of leading from the start and breaking slipstream quite early in race number 1. With more drivers on the grid, are we likely to see maybe a further opportunity for someone to sort of break away and just lead the race from start to finish here? Or are you anticipating a closer fight at the front?
I think we're in for an absolute cracker, to be honest with you. I'm just looking at the actual licenses of drivers here on Project Cars 2, and there's a lot of drivers over the 1600 mark, and with S licenses as well. So that means they've done a lot of races. That means that they have indeed won a lot of races. So yeah, for me, that's going to be the telling factor. Let's say a couple of names here that I recognise as well. I'm looking forward to this. Really am looking forward to this.
Excellent. Well, we're sending 5 people in total through to the regional finals today. And of course, that excludes the wildcards that will be happening at a later date. The focus now is on securing one of the top 2 positions in this race. We're on the PlayStation 4 platform this time around, and we will be moving to the PC platform later on. But for those of you who are just tuning in, we're going to be playing on Sportsland Sugo, arguably the fastest track I think we're going to see, possibly even in this competition, although Luke will correct me if I'm wrong there. It is really quick, really flowing, and Sector 1 in particular has punished a lot of drivers that have made mistakes in the initial race. Luke, take it away. Yep,
racing action. We're at Sugo. Cannot wait. It's going to be great. We've got 10 minutes of qualification, 20-minute race time. A lot more drivers here, so the action's going to be, it's just going to be crazy, to be completely honest with you. Lots of side-by-side action, that's for sure. A narrow circuit as well. I don't know, I'm excited for this. GT3's around here. What could be better? What could be better? Of course, you know, wherever you're watching in the world, it could be really early morning. Shout out to the Beyond team, by the way, putting this together, because it is like 3, 4 a.m. in the morning for them. So yeah, crazy from them. And then we've got the actual Asia Pacific region that it's a sensible time at night, and then it's midday for us here in the UK. So I don't know, I'm excited. I shouldn't be this excited early in the day, John. I just love sim racing. It's amazing.
It's not got nothing to do with the 4 coffees you've had already, right?
Do you know what? Ironically, I don't even drink coffee, so that, yeah, it's crazy. But I'm just excited. My mouth is like a box of frogs right now. I'm so excited.
Well, we are into qualifying, ladies and gents. For those of us who might be joining in the broadcast now, there will be a 10-minute qualifying session followed by a 20-minute race. And once those 20 minutes are up, the next time the leader of the race crosses the start-finish line, that will signal the end of the race. And because there's a reasonably quick lap time here as well, people will be able to get a larger number of laps, at least compared to what we saw, for example, in last week's competition. And there will certainly be more than next week. But I'm not going to get ahead of myself. We're here on Sugo, and we are live with the PlayStation qualifying. I'm looking forward to seeing how quick these lap times can be, and whether we'll dip into lap times that are even faster than what we saw previously.
Hopefully it's going to be a fast and frantic race. But let's talk about redemption. Monkey Matt last year at the APAC regional finals very slyly missed out on qualifying for the world finals. Chance at redemption today. For me, the favourite in this race to get the result, although there's a lot of unknown drivers here with very, very good licenses as well. So it could come down to the wire, but I'm expecting really good things from Monkey Matt. Shame we haven't got the other Matt, Tropper Matt, in the Asia Pacific region finals this time, but he's had a baby, so that makes sense for him not to be here. But we've got lots of unknown drivers here. So we've got Fuji, we've then got Rosmo, Ghost, Winchester. These are drivers I've never come across before, so it's really good to see them all qualifying here. We've then got Toza, 985, Excessive Wine, sounds like a Saturday Night John would encounter. We've got Chad, 7777, Monkey Matt, of course. Then we've got the Aussie, we've got It's Ranga Mate, We then got Short Fuse, who has raced in the ATR leagues before as well. He's very quick, so expecting him to be near the front as well. Trimax Carter, another Carter here as well. And then we've got Kaza. So that is our drivers today. And, well, yeah, it's, for me, Short Fuse and Monkey Matt are the two drivers that I have seen before in the Project Cars 2 racing, sort of sim racing world of esports. And yeah, I'm expecting them to be near the front here. But again, lots of unknowns, opportunity. We are going to see some surprises today, that's for sure. And it's, of course, Sugo.
A little bit of a mix-up in terms of nationalities on the grid as well. We mentioned initially Monkey Matt, who I believe is our sole representative from New Zealand on this grid. A strong contingent once more of Australian racers, but then we've also got Fujio, Trimax, and Trezor, if Trezor is in the lobby. I haven't actually spotted Trezor yet, who would be our representatives from Japan, who are joining this lobby as well. So several different nations racing together. It'll be entertaining to see potential contrast in racing styles, potentially lines that they would take, although around a track as fast as this, there can't be that many in qualifying. Kaza having a big moment there as we really try and put on the power. Traction control, well, something tells me that didn't kick in, let's put it that way. Well saved, and we continue on with qualifying with just over 6 minutes left.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to matter. Kaza's put an absolute worldie of a time in here. An 18.7 is your banker time. He's got nothing to be worried about right now. He's half a second clear of, for me, the quickest driver in the lobby. And yeah, Kaza is definitely on the limit right now. And you're right, traction control didn't kick in because he's not using it. So yeah, fantastic stuff here from Kaza Freak. This won't be ultimately a quick time unless he made some serious mistakes on lap 1. But an 18.7 says to me that he was right on the limit. So we will watch him until he crosses the line. Again, half a second clear of everybody. And this is our first surprise. Kaza Freak has arrived here, and he's looking very dangerous indeed. Across the line he goes here, and again, I'm very unlikely for it to be any quicker, and I tell you what, it is. So that's a huge mistake we saw there, and he's now producing 18.5. Kaza's arrived, ladies and gentlemen. Watch out. Remember the name.
You know what this means as well, Luke? It means that if we got an 18.5 with that kind of mistake, there is every opportunity in the remainder of this qualifying session we start to see drivers maybe even dip into the 117s. That's beginning to look quite possible here.
Oh, don't tempt me. Oh, that's just... Times excite me, John. Okay, it's too early for excitement. We don't want to see a 117 this early. I'm not opposed to it, but let's just chill out. Oh, wow, okay, so Fujio's just put a 118.4 in. Whoa! We've got a race on our hands here, ladies and gentlemen. 3 drivers dipping into the 118s as it stands. 4 tenths separating the front 3. And wow, we've got 2 surprises then. Fuji and Kaza are 2 new names. And this is what the Logitech McLaren G Challenge is all about. It is indeed raising new talent, giving them a platform. And wow, we are seeing them shine right now. John, genuinely, I'm really excited for this one. I think we're going to see an absolute cracker of a race. And yet, not everyone's got lap times in yet, so we might see even more people go faster.
Oh, a little bit of a moment behind Fujio there. I don't actually know who it is in that second car of identical livery, but tried to get out of the way and was accidentally on the racing line when that red McLaren came screaming through. And unfortunately, I think they were on a hot lap and were forced to the gravel trap on the outside, so not ideal. And with only 4.5 minutes remaining in the session, you're going to get a limited number of hot laps left. I want to see this go as close as possible, and Kaza is certainly making that as close as possible, showing us what the circuit looks like when you drive it backwards. Amazingly not able to, well, while he wasn't able to keep it on the track, he didn't actually hit any walls there. So in a race situation, he would have been able to continue with no damage to the car, just a couple of screaming tyres to take care of, instantly retires to the pits, but should have enough time in the bank to try and get another flyer in.
Yeah, we'll give him a 7.5 for that, I think. 7.5. It's a nice dismount.
Yeah.
It's always about the dismount there. There's no wall involved, no wobbling of the car. Really, really nice stuff there. But yeah, in a good position right now. And that's a strange one, really, John. He's put a really good time in. You probably feel like he's got enough time in the bank because of that mistake he made, indeed, to potentially get onto pole position. And also, the last thing you do before a race, you don't want to be remembered or reminded of spinning. So he's now going to have to do a couple of laps here to try and get back that rhythm, try and indeed just feel good about himself, ultimately. It's about, you know, it's all about having talent, it's all about being fast. But the psychological balance as well is huge. So now he's just going to try and maybe put in a similar time to what he's produced. It might not necessarily go any faster, but at least his last memory of this circuit before he does indeed have the green light show up when he start the race wasn't him facing the wrong way up towards the chicane.
I think saying that it's all about the psychology is bang on there, Luke, because at the end of the day, he had that massive mistake and still managed to clock in a 1:18.5. So there is every opportunity for him to go even faster here, dare we say it. I want to see a 1:17. I don't know if that's possible, but I certainly think Kaza can get faster. But I'm also a little bit worried, Luke, because it's he's right on the limit, and you can tell the way he's driving. It's really quick, but it's also really on edge. I'm getting a couple of flashbacks to SA Dude from the last race, if you know what I mean. Are we going to see this translated, as Fujio does a little bit of a spin, are we going to see this translated into good race pace, do you think, from him? Or are we liable to make mistakes because of the way he's been driving so far? It's really hard to tell.
Yeah, there you go. So, you know, we spoke about the hot lappers and the racers last week. It looks like these drivers might be more hot lappers. And again, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but there's a lot of mistakes happening here. And there's one driver who may be half a second slower in qualifying, being Monkey Matt, but he's not making those mistakes. He's not losing the car. He's more of a racer. So, yeah, Fuji and Kaza are really fast, but ultimately one spin in the race can cost you the chance to qualify for the regional finals. So, yeah, you're right. Consistency has to be king. In this situation, Monkey Matt, does he improve on his time? No, he does not. But he should get 2 more laps or 2 more opportunities at this. Let's go back on board then with Kaza, who indeed is about to end this flying lap here. So has he gone any faster? But in the race, you cannot afford those mistakes.
Absolutely not. You get all the mistakes out of your system in qualifying, for sure, but then when we're looking at it, we're going to be thinking, hang on a second, this guy's fast, but he's also making a lot of mistakes. And even Fujio, who was doing very, very well, actually, up into that low-speed spin, able to catch that reasonably well. You don't want to be doing that in the race. That'll cost you a good 10 seconds, if not more. So lots and lots to think about here, but provisional pole by 1/4 of a second at the moment. Kaza has not improved that time just yet, but we're looking forward to seeing what happens the next time he crosses the timing beam. 1:18.3 now, the time to beat. We've got 4 drivers in the 1:18s and a further 6 drivers in the 1:19. So about a second and a half separating the top 10 at this point, with just over a minute to go in this qualifying session.
Yeah, it's Ranga that's joined the 1:18 club, as we like to call them here. And 1:18.3 is right on pace, and again, I don't want to put the Europeans on a pedestal, but that is definitely the strongest of the regions. That's where we generally tend to find the winners of the Logitech G Challenge. And yeah, they're close here. They're very close to that kind of benchmark. So Fuji's doing a sensational job here of 1:18.3. We're watching Ranga come across the line. We'll have 1 more lap as well here. Does he improve? He does not. So where's Kaza? Kaza across the line here. Will he improve? No, he will not. And Monkey's actually up to P2. So Monkey, Matt, has got up into P2 here, a 1:18.443. I missed that, but that is vital to be on that front 2 rows. Where's Fuji? Fuji's about to come across the line. Are we going to see him closing in on that potential 1:17? He cannot get another lap time in now, and that is going to be it. So 1:18.3 is the benchmark. He's finished qualifying here. Monkey Matt then is coming down towards the hairpin at the back end of the circuit. Where's Kaza? So Kaza's in behind him. So let's watch Monkey Matt, and actually let's check out where Rangamate is. So he's in behind. So we're going to go Monkey. We're going to watch him cross the line. Then we're going to watch Kaza, and then we're going to watch It's Ranga. So a couple of corners to go here. Ooh, bit of a mistake there in front, which is not ideal. Luckily, it's not cost Monkey Matt any time. Around the final corner here, can he find that 1.5 tenths of a second? Well, he's continued it up here. He has not backed out of this lap. So it says to me it's pretty damn good. Across the line he will go. And will Monkey Matt take pole position at the death here? Oh, it's so close. 200th of a second off of pole position. But, well, we haven't got time to breathe here, John, because now Kaza is coming up towards the line here. And then we've got Ranga in behind. So will Kaza improve on his time here? Remember, only the top 2 will qualify. So getting on the front row of the grid is huge. Across the line then for Kaza Freak. Will he take an extra position? And, well, the timing's finished here, and we didn't quite see any movement here. We will get the timing up on your screen now, and he does improve, but it's not quite enough. And it will be Fuji who takes pole position. What a session that was.
Really great qualifying session, leaving us on the edge of our seats all the way to the very end. Fujio will be on pole position with Monkey Matt starting alongside after that absolutely blistering lap towards the end. Only 26 thousandths of a second behind pole. Kaza will line up directly behind the pole sitter, though, in 3rd position, just a 1/4 second shy of him. And then we've got Ranga, Trimax Carter, Excessive Wine, Short Fuse, Winchester, Maiko, and N. Stotta. who will be completing the grid here for our second race. Absolutely electrifying into that session, and this sets us up really nicely to determine which of our two drivers are going to make it straight through to the regional finals. I reckon we're going to see a fair bit of a fight on our hands here.
Yeah, it's almost like we want to try and extend it to 4 people to go through. These 4 are definitely the standouts right now, but it is all about 2 spots. And also, you know, there's some drivers in behind that might be very consistent in the racing. We saw at least 3 of the top 4. They're making mistakes in qualifying, so they weren't as consistent as you would expect here. So 14 drivers are here on the grid then, waiting for the green lights to appear. And while we will find our next 2 drivers that will make it to the Asia Pacific regional finals, we're here at Sugo for race 2. It's the PlayStation qualifiers then, the PlayStation quarterfinals. It is Fuji on pole. Monkey Matt is in second. We have then got Kazafreak in third, and we've got It's Rangamate in 4th position. It's between these 4 for me. Is anybody outside of that going to be able to get involved here? Trimax Carter then in the number 2 car. Another number 2 car, Excessive Wine. When we see Excessive Wine there, never drink and drive, kids. It's just not how you should be doing things. But I'm sure he is sober as a judge right now. Still potentially 1 minute to go before they ready up. I'm excited here. I don't like the ready up system. I feel like they should all be ready after qualifying because I get all excited and I just blow a fuse. It is not good at all. Not good at all, John.
Well, Kaza, I'm really looking forward to seeing what Kaza can do here. I want Kaza to put in a couple of really quick laps towards the start of this race, just to keep the front cars bunched up and playing defensive. Because if we can do that, then we've got what essentially could be a 4 to 6-way fight for the victory here. And I want Kaza to mix things up, to show us that kind of pace that he had in qualifying before he made that mistake, and still came across the line in a 1:18.5. That, to me, is the exciting part of the start of this race.
For sure. Bit of rallycross, why not? Why not? Add it to the list of stuff we want to see. Anyway, 20 seconds at a maximum then for these drivers to ready up. So there's always one that needs to fluff their pillow. There's always one that needs to add some milk to their drink.
Got to get the curlers
10
out.
seconds to go. Yes, you do. That is true, John. You keep talking about your weekends. It's starting to make me very worried.
That and excessive wine, you know, what can I say?
Exactly that. Here we go then. Readying up here then, and well, Matt is on pole position because Fuji did not ready up for the race. So Fuji has not readied up for the race here, and well, we go green, and it is Monkey Matt that takes the lead. So Kaza then is in second spot, and our pole position driver did not ready up. Well, there's big contact in the background here as well. 3 drivers then having contact in the background, but the front 3 have got away here. A bit of contact then between the front 2 here. Kaza on the inside there. Monkey Matt then is on the outside in the orange car, but now he's under a lot of pressure here. Oh, almost a bit of contact between the 2 then as they come up towards the left-hander, up towards the chicane. And now all of a sudden we've got Trimax Carter up to 3rd position. And I don't think he's quite going to hold on here. No, Monkey Matt has the inside line on the exit of the chicane. Oh, contact between then him and indeed Short Fuse. The Short Fuse gets himself out there. He doesn't want to get involved. Contact in the background as well between 2 drivers. It's not been the cleanest of starts here, but it's not going to be worried here because It's Rangamate's gone from 4th to 1st here, John. What a start for him.
A really fantastic start. We were watching Kaza as he managed to overtake off the line, but Ranga with a fantastic drive around the outside of the first couple of corners, able to line up Kaza and gets the move done in 2 corners quite cleanly as well. So Ranga will lead the race on lap 1. Still plenty more to go, and with Kaza in second place and Monkey in third, I'm really looking forward to seeing whether the field can stay bunched up. Still in touching distance, about half a second behind now. If Kaza's able to force Ranga to maybe drive slightly defensively, we've definitely got at least a 4-way fight here. 1 second separating all of them at the moment.
Yeah, Ranga's doing a hell of a job right now. You can see the Kaza there tries to, get into the mirrors. He was never trying to make a move there, that's for sure, on the driver in the front of this battle or front of this lead. But yeah, it's a very good start here for It's Ranga. Monkey now in P2. Monkey's P2 here. So what's happened? What happened to Kaza? So Kaza's now down to P6. So we missed that then. So he did make a mistake through the first couple of corners now and finds himself down into P6. And this is what we're talking about. Time trialers, like they don't have as much racing experience here. Of course, they're fast, but ultimately, when you do 1,000 laps and you get one of those laps that qualifies you, how many of those laps were clean? How many of those laps were you making mistakes? So this is where you'll see the racing drivers indeed come out on top here. And well, right now, it seems like It's Ranga is one of those, and Monkey Matt, again, one of the favourites, I would say, coming into this. He's definitely got the consistency, although he's under a lot of pressure here from Trimax Carter. So Trimax Carter then is in very close proximity. But as it stands, though, It's Ranga's driving away. But again, Fuji not readying up here. Pole position, John.
Right.
And wow, a huge opportunity lost here.
It definitely is. We don't know the reason, of course, that they didn't make the start. It could have been a technical issue for them. We'll have to wait and hear about it later on. Unfortunate, but we still have a race to run. And Ranga now leading from Monkey. This is not the top three that we thought were going to be in the top three at the start of this race, but it's what we've got now. And Monkey able to keep them honest. Kaza now starting a little bit of a recovery drive. Was 4.5 seconds behind and is slowly reeling people in. But if you continue to make those kind of mistakes, you can't really afford it. Kaza really trying hard to fight his way back up the field. I'm a little concerned that it's going to end up in a sort of hero or zero moment here, where he either makes the overtake or crashes out of the race entirely, because he's looking very, very on edge, similarly to what he did in qualifying.
Yeah, well, as much as that is potentially a problem, that could be happening in any race if we're going to be completely honest. But Kaza does have 16.5 minutes to go, so plenty of time. It may seem like a short race, 20 minutes, but ultimately it is not the shortest of races. It's quite long. He's got plenty of time to get the job done. He knows he has the outright pace, but ultimately being behind another car, you're going to lose time. So he'll just need to be just be clever, be careful, get the overtakes done, and then you can get into some clear air. Then start to push towards the front three. Remember, he doesn't need to win this race, just needs to finish in the top two. So that's one less position to be too worried about. And actually, it seems like It's Ranga has made another mistake here. So the front three are closed up again. It was 1.5 seconds, now it's only 0.8 of a second. As we head then down in towards turn number one. Trimax Carter maybe losing a bit of speed here. And actually, the perfect scenario here for Trimax Carter would be for Monkey Matt to close up to the leader and then them really battle for it. But ultimately, they might decide to just play it out, not do anything too crazy, but then Trimax Carter has to pile the pressure on. So he has to close that gap. He has to force them to fight. Otherwise, it's going to be curtains real early in this race. But as it stands, they're very close right now. 1.8 seconds separating the front three. Kaza's got ahead here. So Kaza's already got ahead of one. Excessive wine now down into P6. So Kaza doing a pretty stellar job as it stands to come through the pack. And, the top three, they know Kaza's qualifying pace, John. So the front three will now know that they have to get a move on, because they will have at least a top 6 in their HUD display. So they know that Kaza's moving up the order.
It's interesting to note that when Kaza was focused on the car behind as well, when he was behind Excessive Wine, you could tell that Kaza had a much better qualifying line and was really focused on utilizing every inch of the track when he got to within about 1 second of Excessive Wine. Overall, the overtake cost him approximately 0.8 of a second on the leaders, but he's gotten that done now and is inching towards those top 4 spots. 2 wheels on the grass. This is going to help though, and that's the bidding we were talking about. Kaza essentially out of the running now, and as soon as he wasn't behind another car and went back into qualifying mode, that is the danger, and that is what he feared the most. Kaza, after a spectacular qualifying and start to the race, unfortunately, is now going to bow out of contention.
Yeah, unfortunate there, and again, we've said that final corner is so vital. It's one where you can gain the most time, and ultimately you just run off a little bit wide. No, the leader's gone! The leader's gone here, so Ranga has made a mistake. He's going to go down to P3. So Monkey Matt then is in the lead, and It's Ranga makes a mistake out of the chicane. And well, luckily, I'm thinking he hasn't got too much damage to that car. But right now, as it stands then, it is Trimax Carter and Monkey Matt that will qualify, and It's Ranga now all of a sudden down to P3. So they're all making mistakes, John.
The question now comes down to, does Monkey Matt's experience allow him to just calmly get on with it? I don't really think he can afford to at this rate, because he's only a second ahead. Ranga still not really taking the line we would expect him to take, making a few more small mistakes as he gets back on track. And that actually buys Ranga maybe about 6 or 7 tenths of breathing room. So we've got 2 seconds separating the front 3 cars now, whereas before it was under a second. All sorts of drama happening at the front. Who knows what'll happen next?
Yeah, I don't think you need to be too worried about going fast at this rate. You just need to wait for the driver in front to make a mistake. It's been that kind of race at this point. And I'll tell you what, watch this guy here, Short Fuse. A lot of experience in league racing. So Short Fuse, if he gets an opportunity, he will be consistent. Definitely lacking in terms of pace. Oh, I say that. Look at the lap times on the previous lap. 120.0. 120.1, and then we had, of course, Ranga with a 123 due to the mistake, but a 120.0 then for short fuse. So if he could just crawl up onto the back of this pack here, I would not be surprised if he does indeed go through here, because he is super, super consistent. I've seen it from him before, time and time again, and expecting big things now. Now he's got that opportunity. Again, in qualifying, didn't qualify overly well, top 6, or was he just outside the top 6? Top 7 was for short fuse. But, you know, a few people making mistakes here. It's giving him an opportunity, and he will just keep putting those lap times in. 120 zeros, 121s, 120.2s. You know, he's going to consistently do that. Will the drivers in front be able to do that? I'm not too sure. Like, they want to try and dip into the 118s. That's, of course, where they want to be in terms of qualification. But I think consistently hitting 120s and no spinning will get him through here. So he needs to lean on the league racing experience at this point. As we do indeed check out the lap times here, it looks like everyone's sorting themselves out. So now it's 119, a 120, 125, and then, well, there we go. Short Fuse has done a 119.8. So he's now going faster than 2 drivers right directly in front of him. And, well, we've got a race in our hands. The front P1, P4 are the fastest, and then we've got P2 and P3, which are indeed a little bit slower. So it looks like we might have a battle between 2nd, 3rd, and 4th for that 2nd qualifying position.
Our first 2 drivers ducking into the below 1 minute 20 lap times now. We've got 11.5 minutes left remaining on the PlayStation 4 race. You guys are watching the Logitech McLaren G finals, well, quarterfinals, I should say, in the Asia Pacific region. This is anyone's to play for, because, to be honest, what I thought was going to happen at the start of the race, what we then thought was actually going to happen at the end of lap 1, and what we now see are 3 completely different things. We've had all sorts of drama. The person who qualified on pole not actually making it through to start the race on pole. Changes of position of leader at least 3 times throughout the course of this race now. And the question has to be, in the second half of the race, do we have the consistency to bring it home? Mistakes all over the shop, and this is producing exciting racing.
Yeah, they're just doing a really good job at proving that me and you have no idea what we're on about, so that's good. But yeah, it is a complete toss-up of what we saw in qualifying. It's fantastic to see. Just goes to show that there is a depth of talent in the field. Of course, it doesn't help when you had Fuji, who qualified pole, who didn't ready up for the race. So that's really annoying, because I'd love to have seen how well he would have done in a race scenario. But ultimately, you know, it was the driver that we thought would be at the front, is at the front, like Monkey Matt, before the qualifying had even begun, just because of his experience levels. But then there's an opportunity here for a bit of an unknown. Like, these 3 drivers now are closing up to each other. It's Ranga was leading the race. He spun out. He made a mistake, but I don't think he's got damage. So now he's got to try and get back up ahead here. Like, when you're leading the race, there's a whole different pressure to when you're now trying. Like, he's in 3rd. He's not qualifying right now. It's a huge pressure. He knows he has to make an overtake. But when you're leading a race, you just cannot make a mistake. You're so nervous. You start shaking. You feel like your legs are shaking. And ultimately, it doesn't really feel like your legs are shaking on the accelerator pedal. It's the brake pedal. That's the worst one. When you're trying to get your brakes nailed and you feel like your legs are all jelly, it's horrible. It's horrendous. I get it all the time when I do endurance races. It's the worst feeling ever, but that's because it means something. It genuinely means something. But Ranga, you know, ultimately, he needs to forget about that mistake. He's got an opportunity here to rectify it in the same race. It's very rare that you make a huge error in a race and you still have the chance to rectify it in that very same race. So here we go. Is he going to be able to do it?
Interestingly, he didn't close up on Trimax at all down that straight, but he has got a little bit of a tighter line going through here into Sector 1. Closes a couple of tenths. It doesn't mean much at the moment because he's not really able to find a gap to potentially overtake. The fastest line is just so narrow around this part of the circuit, but he can attempt to close right up and maybe get into the slipstream proper on the next lap. Within 0.3 of a second now, and it's looking like he could be lining up here, Luke, to try something on the back straight maybe.
Well, he made a mistake again, just getting really close to the rear there. He said he didn't close up on the start-finish straight. Wasn't really close enough for slipstream. Would have been getting a little bit of a toe, but not anything crazy. This sort of distance, though, you're going to get a real punched hole in the air, so an opportunity to close in. But every time he gets really close then, the dirty air of the car in front is really affecting his air on the front of the car. So the balance is all out. You're not able to find... the car just doesn't feel the same, basically. You're going to run out wide on corners. You're not going to be able to turn in as early, and you just lose all sense of traction. So we come up towards the final corner here, and this is the vital corner here. And for me, he needs to get on the brakes a little bit earlier and hit the apex. So they're running a little bit wide here, but if you grab the curb on the inside, you can actually help the car rotate. They both get there through there nicely, but again, it is our P2 then, Trimax Carter, that isn't really looking back at this point. As long as he can keep getting really good exits out of the final corner, and indeed out of the double right-hander before we go down the hill down towards the hairpin, he's going to be good. That's the only two corners he needs to be really worried about. But ultimately, if these two do start fighting, Short Fuse has to close up. He has to start putting the pressure on. It just doesn't seem like he has that outright pace, but he is consistent. Like I keep saying, he's still in the 20.0s, John. Again, he's losing a couple of tenths to the drivers in front of him, but he is still just lapping those 120.0s, and he will continue to do that. It's all about whether these two can indeed pull away or whether they're going to cost each other time. Because Short Fuse, he will take every opportunity.
Short Fuse was definitely bunched up at one point and is now about 1.5 seconds behind. Still within pouncing distance, of course, if these drivers decide to take some chunks of time out of their lap times, if they start to get involved in a tussle. But Short Fuse was a little bit closer earlier on in the race, so it's interesting to see how that's going to develop. In the meantime, Monkey Matt just starting to pull out a bit more of a lead now. 2.5 seconds. Ranga making a minor mistake and dropping a tenth or two with two wheels on the grass there. Gives Trimax just a little bit more breathing room. He's got all that work to do again to try and close up that gap, but he might be able to do so in time for the next straight or the one after that. If I'm Monkey Matt right now, I'm looking at those times and I'm going, yes, this is good. This maximizes my opportunity to increase this gap and really solidify my hold on this race, because there's only a couple of minutes left realistically for them to start reeling Monkey Matt in. I think that chance now is starting to slip away, but the fight for second is very much still alive.
Yeah, we're looking at around about 5 laps remaining of this race, and I think Monkey Matt's in a good spot. He's in a very similar spot to Fens, but not quite the big advantage here. But ultimately, he knows if he loses one position, he's still going to be able to qualify. Like, he's still going to go through, so he's got that bit of insurance, whereas with Fens, if he made a mistake, it was winner takes all in the Xbox race. So a little bit different pressure there, but pressure all the same. And I tell you what, I am so impressed with Trimax Carter. Qualified on the 3rd row of the grid. So again, very tough to get yourself in the top 2. Of course, people have made mistakes. We have pole position not ready up, but he's taken full advantage of that. But he's not looked back. It's not like he's been, he's been fortunate to be able to hold on to this position. He's kept the gap to be around about a second, just under a second then to indeed its Rangamate. Rangamate was leading this race, so it could be very easy for Trimax Carter to take his foot off the gas and get a bit worried because he knows the driver behind is indeed very, very fast. But he hasn't. So Trimax Carter, for me, is doing a very, very good job right now. Again, the gap's around about 0.8 of a second. And, for me, if he just keeps putting in these lap times, he's golden here. 120.1, he actually took 0.4 of a second out of P3. And, well, Short Fuse is now starting to struggle ever so slightly. So he's not piling on enough pressure to them two for them two to make a mistake either. We go a bit further back then. We've got Winchester then is in P8. And then right at the back of the grid order here, Kazza's back out. And Kazza, well, it looks like he's having a battle here for position. This is great to see that he's actually going to finish this race. Big, huge respect. He's up in behind Ghost 88805. So that means that there was 88,804 other Ghosts on the PlayStation Network. So fair play to you, Ghost, for sticking to your guns and one in that name. But there's a mistake there from Kazza. So again, it looks like he's got damage to the car, but he would have, as he's coming to the pits, it is fixed. So his car's going to be good. It's going to be fine. It just will indeed look like he's still got damage to the car, unless he's been involved in something else. So again, we don't really know there. And actually, I was talking about its Rangamate not really closing in on P2. It is happening, John, although he runs a little bit wide there. That might be a slowdown penalty. And maybe with 4 minutes to go, there's a potential for some fireworks here.
Ranga has made a similar mistake. I think we've seen him do that 2 or 3 times in this race. Not enough for it to be a massive, significant impact on his result for sure, but he's going to be kicking himself a little bit that he's not slightly closer. Plenty of time to do this, though. I reckon he's got about 3-4 laps remaining where he should be able to mount some sort of challenge. Yeah,
there isn't plenty of time in my book. This is not plenty of time in my book now. This is a case of in 3, 4, 5 hours, 4, 5 days, in a couple of weeks. Are you going to be looking back at this race here thinking, did I leave it all out on the table? Did I give absolutely everything, or was I too placid in my approach? This is now all or nothing. Because, if you don't get top 2, this is it. This is your journey in the Logitech McLaren G Challenge over. So I apologise for cutting in there, mate, but with 3 minutes to go, 2.5 laps left to go, he has to make his opportunity. He has to take his chance now. And as the song states at the start of the stream, is his time now? We're about to find out.
I think that on every single lap where he doesn't run wide at that corner, he's going to have a shot at overtaking. And I think that it could happen as early as the very next lap. He just needs to eliminate those tiny mistakes and focus on the bumper ahead without getting distracted with regards to the braking point or how much speed he's actually carrying through that apex. The moment he doesn't make that mistake, he's right up on Trimax's fender, and I think we're going to have just a tight race all the way through to the end. He's certainly not going to be thinking he didn't leave anything out on the table, because we've seen him make those mistakes on the edge, but he does need to rein it in a little bit and just focus on getting that gap down to something like 0.2 of a second coming onto the straight.
He's flashing the lights here, and well, this is the first time we have seen this. This is a proper duke out here. 2 laps remaining of this race, and then it's between its Rangamate then for this final qualifying position with Trimax Carter. Who's going to get the dub out of these two? And well, it won't be the dub officially, but it will be second position. And you can see here that Carter is very much struggling under braking. And wow, it's Rangamate. Oh, there's contact between the two there. And oh, that will be looked at, that's for sure. That looked like there was contact there. There was a mistake from Trimax Carter, but it's Rangamate is just, yeah, he just didn't react quick enough. There was contact between the two. And well, Trimax Carter indeed went off the circuit. So now, the predator has become the prey. It's Rangamate is now in second position, and Trimax Carter, I tell you what, if there's an opportunity to dive one up the inside, he is going to take that opportunity, that's for sure. I don't condone retaliation, but he's going to be pretty damn angry there of how that overtake happened. And again, I feel like that will indeed be looked at. But as it stands there, Monkey Matt's loving this, because that means he can just drive away at this point. He's 3.5 seconds in the lead, but 1 lap remaining of this race. So yeah, good job by him. And yeah, officially, yes, they will be coming across the line here with the last lap remaining of this race. And then we've got its Rangamate then in P2, a little bit faster in this race actually in terms of P1. They're not going to have that extra lap at the end. But then we've got its Rangamate battling with Trimax Carter. So it's on the final lap of this race then. And well, is its Rangamate going to be able to hold on? You can see that Monkey actually is being caught by these two, so he's taking a lot of time off his lap times here. And he doesn't want to do too much of that. That's when mistakes can creep in. We come up then towards this flat-out chicane if you nail it. And it looks like its Rangamate is in a very good position here. And it's all about how he got into that position. And again, I'm not going to sit here and defend drivers. Like, I'm going to call a spade a spade. You guys watching at home are not stupid. And it did look like there was contact between the two. But again, I'd have to see it properly again to make a full judgment on that. And we would like to hope that that's not the case, and it was just a mistake from Trimax Carter. As we head then down in towards the hairpin here for the very final time. We've got the double left-hander to go here, and it looks like Monkey Matt is going to be our qualifier that finishes in P1 with a couple of corners here to go. It's been a stellar performance from Monkey Matt, and I tell you what, I told you about redemption. He's going to get himself to another regional final, but can he go one step further? Can he become the regional winner for the Asia-Pacific region? But he's done the first step here. It is a race victory for Monkey Matt, and while in second position, it is going to be its Rangamate, and then we've got Trimax Carter. But for the first time, I think that there might be a steward's investigation as to who does qualify. So again, it is not official that that is the result, but as it stands, it'll be Monkey Matt and it'll be its Rangamate that qualify through. Very exciting race there, John. A little bit different to the Xbox One. A lot more action involved with it. But ultimately, there was also a lot more incident involved too.
Lots of drama up and down the field. Kazza actually will be in 11th as well, so still battling back from the back after so much drama involving that car. But the pole sitter not being able to take the race. That second to last lap heroics between second and third. You're absolutely right, Luke. I can't speculate as to what happened between Ranga and Trimax there. I don't know if the contact caused the error or if the error caused the contact, and I'm sure the stewards are going to be taking a look at that afterwards to see if that was all well and above board. But one thing's for sure, we had a tremendously exciting race, absolutely wonderfully driven by Monkey Matt. I feel like a couple of opportunities had to be handed to him, but I also feel like he grasped them with both hands and never let go. I didn't see an obvious mistake, Monkey Matt, all race long. And I think he just focused on getting in there and getting the job done, and he's done that beautifully today. You can't take that away from him.
Yeah, sign of the champion there. You get given an opportunity, you take it. Very, very simple in that regard. And yeah, he did exactly everything he needed to do. Monkey Matt will be our first qualifier from the PlayStation 4 side of things here in the Asia-Pacific region. And I feel like that's going to be under investigation. But as it stands, it will be its Rangamate who will be the second one to qualify. But John, take us through our top 10.
Exactly right. Monkey Matter almost certainly going through in first place. A phenomenal drive from him. Ranga and Trimax, well, there's a little bit of contention as to which one of them is going to go through. We'll be looking at that incident later on. But they finish in second and third as far as these race results go anyway. We then got Short Fuse and Excessive Wine completing the top 5. Winchester finishes in 6th place. Stozza right behind him, followed by the Aussie in 8th. We then got Rosmo and Maiko completing our top 10 with Kaza. What an incredible recovery drive. Unfortunately, a lot of mistakes, but a little bit of redemption at least, and a hell of a lot of entertainment in 11th place. We'll finish ahead of Chad, Ghost, and Fujio, unfortunately, who didn't take the grid at the start. Big question marks around that, but we saw just how much speed he was able to carry through, and you never know, maybe a wild card spot is on the cards for him. But a fantastic race and a lot of action for all. I just hope we get half as much action in the PC race next, Luke. That was phenomenal to watch.
Yeah, well, I'm going to take a leaf out of Excessive Wine's book and drink about 4 bottles of wine in anticipation for the final race. The PC, I'm sure, will be the best of the best of the region. PlayStation 4 was a fantastic race. Xbox, of course, we've seen Fens get pretty much an easy victory, but it's good to see that when it comes to the regional finals, there's going to be some serious competition from this region.
Exactly right. So Fens and Monkey Matt definitely through. We wait to see which of the drivers is going to be the third player through that we've had today so far, because we've had 1 from Xbox and we will have 2 from PlayStation. Coming up next, though, after Luke's tactical 12:30 p.m. pit stop for 4 bottles of wine, is going to be the PC race, where 2 more drivers will get sent through to the regional final. Go grab yourself a drink. When we come back, the final race of the day will be live on the Logitech McLaren G Challenge. See you soon. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Logitech McLaren G Challenge. My name's John Sargent. With me is Luke Crane, and I am so excited because we are getting ready for the PC race. It's going to be the largest field and some ridiculously competitive names in there, with 2 going through to the regional finals. We're going to see some serious wheel-to-wheel racing, and we're also going to see some big names not make it. This is going to be a very, very exciting qualifying and race session, and I don't actually think I've said this before in this broadcast, but Luke, when you have this many good drivers in the field, qualifying suddenly, it takes on a new level of importance compared to the races we've already seen. This is going to be electric.
Yeah, especially with only 2 drivers qualifying again, percentages-wise. There's 24 drivers in the lobby, so only 2 drivers qualifying through there. You've got less than a 10% chance of getting through at this stage, around about 8% chance. So it's a tough one, that is for certain. But it is the nature of the game. If you want to be the very best, you've got to beat the very best. And there's no more better than Ralph the Wonder Llama, which I've just seen is in the lobby. Never heard of Ralph the Wonder Llama, but I'm assuming that there's some sort of llama magic powers going down here. So expect them right at the front.
Ralph the Wonder Llama is categorically my spirit animal. I'm going to be backing Ralph the Wonder Llama to win this race by a lap and a half. We'll see if it ends up happening. We are, of course, going to be racing on Sportsland Sugo for the 3rd and final time today. 1 Xbox driver qualifying directly to the regional final, 2 from PS4, and we're going to have 2 from PC now as well, in a stacked lobby with even more drivers on the grid. It's all to play for. We're going to be getting into qualifying in just a second. For those of us who are just joining in for the 3rd race, you're in for a treat. We're going to have a 10-minute qualifying session immediately followed by a 20-minute race. So at the end of that 20-minute period, when the lead driver crosses the line, that is when the race finishes. So it could be another lap, or it could be immediately as soon as that timing beam breaks, essentially. And this is a very, very fast circuit, very punishing as well for small mistakes. The slightest wobble could send you careening into the wall, as Kaza showed us on multiple occasions in qualifying and race last time around. But to be fair, we had almost half the field at one point involved in some sort of wobble. This really is a track of absolutely minuscule details at a very, very frightening speed, Luke, and it's been a tremendous pleasure to watch today so far.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. Racing's really important, but I implore everybody out there, after this race is finished, to go onto YouTube and to indeed search llamas skipping. I just want you to watch a llama skipping. I've met John in real life. He says it's a spirit animal. Legitimately, that is the most ridiculous comparison ever. It's spot on. Like, John, you skipping like a llama, it just makes perfect sense. So yeah, make sure you go check that out. But yeah, this is going to be exciting. 22 drivers, as I've just seen, they're racing today. It's going to be good, and we've got some of the very best in the world. And actually, last week we saw Team Highlands Racing represented. We've got another driver here, Moo, from New Zealand, and he is not only one of the very fastest from the region, but one of the very fastest in the world. So we'll be exciting to see how well he does. But we've also got ourselves a Leaf Hamilton. I've got to find out what they're... we've got Lewis Moreno here. Yeah, he's a very, very quick driver. But here is Leaf Hamilton. He qualified for the World Final last year. Very, very nice chap indeed. Had a load of fun with him in Las Vegas. And he'll be trying to get to the regional finals once again.
So Leaf Hamilton and Moo, 2 of the front runners here. Would you say that they're favourites to take 1st and 2nd spots overall before we see any times on the board? Luke, we've got quite a lot of good names in this lobby as well, but do you see them as the front runners here?
Oh, Moo will be pole. I'd be very surprised if he isn't. But as for everybody, I tell you, we're seeing on PC here as well that everybody is giving everyone respect and giving each other a bit of track space as well. Yeah, I'll be very surprised if Moo isn't pole position. Who gets 2nd? I think it's going to be wide open because we've also got Daniel Shields here as well.
We do. There
is Daniel Shields. And again, he is one of the best all-rounders in terms of sim racing in the world. Like, he is ridiculous. So he's an ex-F1 esports driver as well. So he's got some pedigree. So for me, it's between Leaf Hamilton, Daniel Shields. There's a few other drivers here. Lewis Moreno, I would put in that same conversation. But of course, we've got to give props to Ralph the Wonder Llama. It's the Wonder Llama after all. He's got special powers. And, if he goes out and wins this race, I wouldn't be surprised.
Go on, Ralph. Ralph, make me happy. I want nothing more than for Ralph the Wonder Llama to achieve a very respectful finish. Not sure if I'm wanting Ralph the Wonder Llama to win the race outright or anything like that. Oh, dear. Little bit of almost contact there as Ardentez tries to let someone through, but in a rather awkward way, I have to say. And there's not much track space going on between these guys right now, so hopefully they give each other a bit of room. It is just qualifying after all. Just over 7 minutes left to try and set a time. We still haven't got the first time on the board, but we should be seeing that any second now.
Mitch is another one to look out for here. So yeah, make sure that you keep an eye on this driver here. We've also got Blue Black, who clearly was just looking at a random wall and saw 2 colors and thought, yep, that'll do for my Steam name. And his favorite number's 14. But we've actually got then Andika Ramat Maulana, who's taken provisional pole here. And there is our first 17. Ooh. And there's the second straight away. 17.5 then. And that is 0.8 of a second faster than any time we have seen today. So we say this is the main event. And well, that's because the standard is just that little bit higher. THR Mu then, again, very much, I can't see that being beaten. I cannot see a 1:17.5 being beaten. Love to be proved wrong, but at this point in time, 17.5 is a huge time. And that's only his banker time, John. That's a ridiculous qualifying from the New Zealander.
Phenomenal time to begin with, and it's I'd be very impressed if I saw that time at the end of the session, but like you say, Luke, this is a banker time right now. Maulana also doing a great job of setting a sub 1 minute 18, so the second one, or I should say the first one on the timing board, but the second one in this lobby. So both of those drivers have the potential to go a little bit faster here, but those are absolute screamers. Oh, hang on a second. Oh, there we go. Tactical return to pit before we meet the wall there. No complaints, but that was beautiful to watch, and 2 screamers of a lap. Let's see if they can improve on it even further. We might even get a low 1 minute 17 pole time. Wouldn't that be insane?
Who knows? Who knows? At this point of the day, it's just, yeah, Alif Hamilton has gone P2, by the way. So there you go. Alif Hamilton's P2. Mashishi from Japan, one of the very best time trialers in the world, and actually has competed in my Pro Series before over the last couple of years, and really started to find some form as a race driver. So time trials is one thing. Racing is quite the different. I'm expecting to see Maulana up the top 3. He's got all the demigods on his side, so should be a cakewalk, really. If you understand that reference, you have children. So there we go. Or if you don't have children, I apologize, because I may have called you out.
You know who Maulana doesn't have on his side, Luke? He needs Ralph the Wonder Llama. That's the one to complete the set.
Absolutely. Imagine having Ralph the Wonder Llama and the demigods on your side. What a time to be alive. Alif Hamilton then is in P2. So, yeah, THR Mu and Alif Hamilton, I've said that they probably would be the front 2 coming into this. Alif Hamilton, of course, has got previous. He actually managed to qualify for the world final last year. So not only did he get through the phase of the regionals for the Asia Pacific region, but he made it to the world final. He won the regionals. Also a huge Lewis Hamilton fan, as you could probably tell by his name. The Hamilton and the number 44. But yeah, really nice guy. Also, he turned up with his brother in Vegas last year, and his brother is his biggest fan. And he's actually, in his own right, a very good sim racer as well. So yeah, shout out to the Alif family. Love to see them. Maulana then back out on circuit here after doing the tactical return to pits, as John previously stated. We've then got Daniel Shields then in the top 4. I'll tell you what, Mashishi's in the top 5. It's going to form here, and I think Luis Moreno's 6th. So the top 6, the big, as I'm going to call them here, the big dogs, they are the top 6 right now. I wanted to check out the drivers in behind here. Jason Tay, he's very good as well. And actually, we're going to watch him cross the line here. Can he break into the top? This is like the English Premier League. It's like teams are trying to break into the top 6 at this point. Jason Tay does not improve on his time. We've then got Burnout. Burnout's got a big pedigree in racing as well. And also Mitch. But look at this. They're in the 118s, and they're only able to just be in the top 10. So it just goes to show the strength of field here is huge. Absolutely huge. But it is indeed Alif Hamilton and THR Mu on pole position. And wow, actually, no, here we go. So T-Beth, number 1, has just put himself up into the top 6 as Luis Moreno's been displaced here. It's going to be interesting here, John, but this is the closest we've had it. We've got, 6/10 cover in the top 7. It's our final race. We've got 20 minutes of probably high-octane action, probably some incident along the way. Whew, this is going to be amazing.
It really is. We're now going into the second half of qualifying. So this is really still heating up. 3 drivers in the 1 minute 17s. If you're in the 1 minute 18s, that's only guaranteeing you a top 10 position at the moment. These are very, very quick lap times. The question now will be who blinks first and makes the mistake. We've got a lot of quick times on the board, but when it comes to a race scenario, like we've seen so many times before today, the difference between someone with a lot of racing experience and someone who is a little bit of a time trial specialist has been coming out of the woodwork and been put on show for all to see. And the results sometimes from that, Luke, have been spectacular. But so far in this qualifying session, it's quite encouraging to see no real major mistakes, that at least that we've caught on camera so far. The drivers seem to be a little bit more consistent as well as slightly faster here. So we could end up with a very closely bunched up race, but maybe slightly less in terms of fireworks.
Yeah, for sure. I've just had a little inkling here that T-Beth might be on a control pad. But no, it doesn't look like he is, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Just the way he was feathering the throttle seemed very much a trigger from a controller. That was just a sound I picked up. But yeah, no, it looks like he's on a steering wheel. We know Moo's going to be on a steering wheel. We know pretty much all of these top drivers are going to be on a steering wheel. But for me, this is the highest strength field we've had so far. Like North America, PC was pretty good, but these drivers in their own right, as Daniel Shields goes up to a top 3, then 3.5 tenths off of pole position, and he's done. That's qualifying over. Ooh. Maybe he's just hit his personal best and thinks, yeah, I don't need to really try anymore there. I now need to go and relax, ready for the race start. But yeah, this is the highest strength of field we've had so far, and it's just showing. Whether this transpires into the race, well, I know for a fact that Moo's very good in terms of racing. I know that Elif Hamilton's very good in terms of racing. I know that Daniel Shields, he's competed at the very top level on multiple games in terms of racing. The only real unknown factor out of the top 7 for me would be Andika Rama Maulana and indeed T-Beth. I've never heard of those two drivers. So, again, the Logitech McLaren G Challenge, not only showcasing the skills of, already established drivers, but we've got new names coming through as well. This is the perfect platform for them to start their sim racing careers in terms of high-grade tournaments. So, yeah, I'm excited for the race. But more importantly, I have no idea who's going to win. And that's always good for a commentator.
It really is. This is coming to the close now of the qualifying session. Just a couple of seconds left for people to get started on their next hot laps if they are looking to set a faster time. Daniel Shields staying in the pits, happy with a 1:17.899. Currently good for a provisional P3, so they won't be able to improve on that. And we've got Maulana less than a tenth behind. It's entirely possible that he slips slightly down the field here, but we're going to have to see some really bonkers laps. A couple more 117s coming out for that to happen. So Daniel perhaps just comfortable with where he is right now. 100 seconds left to complete your laps. Qualifying is now complete. 5 of the top 6, though, still out on track.
You're so greedy, John. We were hoping for a 117 on PlayStation. Now we've got 4 people with a 117. You're like, oh, yeah. Maybe we can get a couple more people on a 117. Like, come on, stop being so greedy.
They taste great.
They're performing at the top level.
I need Ralph the Wonder Llama now to come in on a 116 and just blow all our minds. That's the only thing I'm waiting for. He's still out on track.
You got half your wish. He's in 16th. But oh no, he's 17th now. So there you go. There's your next 17. He's out now. But it's a position, not the time.
We can dream. We can dream.
Oh, we have fun here, John, don't we? Eh? We have fun.
Elif Hamilton now possibly trying to improve and sneak into pole position. That car is properly on edge. Just these micro slides all over the place as we're just focusing on squeezing every last MPH, KMPH, however you want to name it, as he comes across the line. Oh, doesn't quite get there yet. This is going to be fantastic in the race, though. It's going to be great.
It's going to be really exciting. Luis Moreno then does not improve on his time either, but the top 7 separated by only 7 tenths of a second. And well, with 22 drivers on the grid, those close at the front end of the grid may see some incident happen. So people in P8, we're looking here at Jason Tay. We're looking at Burnout. We're looking at PvP On, who's very quick in his own right as well. We're looking at those drivers. They just need to keep themselves in a position to take advantage of any potential mistakes here, as we were on board then with Elif Hamilton, last season's world final from the Asia Pacific region. And well, John, talk us through our top 10 and get us all excited.
That is qualifying over. We've now got the 20-minute race left to go. THR Moo claims pole position ahead of Elif Hamilton, and Daniel Shields promises to be an absolutely electrifying front 3. But that is not all, because we've got Maulana right behind them, Mashishi, a respectable P5 there, and Tebeth managing to come in on P6. Luis Moreno actually losing a place or two in the dying moments of qualifying, but will be absolutely fantastic in the race starting from P7. Jason Tay, PvP on, and Burnout will complete the top 10. This promises to be a very, very exciting and very competitive race, and I'm looking forward to seeing how all of these drivers get off the line.
Here's the final race then of our broadcast here today. It is the final opportunity for these drivers to indeed progress next into the next phase of this championship, into the regional finals. Only 2 spots up for grabs, and actually it looks like we've only got 21 drivers out of 22. The red bird of death has been hit once again, which is, oh God, it is what it is. But Moo is on pole position right now. Alif Hamilton is in second. Daniel Shields is in third. We've then got our driver here, Maulana, in fourth. Mashishi is in fifth. Then we've got sixth position for Tebeth. And then we've got, indeed, Moreno in seventh. Jason Tay in eighth. PvP on in ninth. And Burnout in 10th. I'm telling you, that top 10 there, that would not look out of place at a world final. I'm not even joking. That is a seriously stacked grid of talent here. And it's just good to see how the Asia-Pacific region is indeed getting better and better each year. And this is what the Logitech McLaren G Challenge does indeed promote. It gives people opportunity, gives people a chance to showcase their skills. And well, now we're about to find out who are the next people joining 3 drivers already decided today on Xbox and PlayStation 4 for our regional finals in November and December. Just waiting for them all to ready up here. And well, as I say that, we are readied up. It's the final race then of the Asia Pacific quarterfinals. We've got the red lights on your screen, and we're about to go green here, and we go racing here at Sugo. And while there's a bit of a problem there in the background. Looks like someone did not get off the line pretty well there at all. Alif Hamilton then maybe looking to make a move here on Moo. And if Moo gets away here, it might become a bit like the PlayStation race where he drives away, he's good, and then everyone else is battling for what would be P2. But Alif Hamilton's job here is to pile that pressure on, force a mistake, and try and keep Moo in the pack. Daniel Shields drops a position then because we've got Maulana moved up to P3. Great start by him. Oh, there's big contact in the background. Huge contact in the background. And there's a lot of races there that are unfortunately going to be over before they really begun. And wow, who's there? Alpha Blue was involved. We've then got Redent. Oh, that's really unfortunate there. DP Mario. We've got Garrick as well. Tebeth, he's all the way down in 17th position. So one of our genuine front runners then is down in 17th spot. But the front 7 then is Jason Tays moved up into that top 7. But they're all very, very close here as they do indeed embark upon the final couple of corners. But John, incidents everywhere. Great starts from the front drivers, and we are in for a bit of a classic.
I think the big loser, unfortunately, in terms of position is indeed Tebeth, who we saw qualify so brilliantly towards the front of the grid, but sadly will have to make their way back up from the rear. It'll be great to see a recovery drive, but very difficult to get back into the top 2 from there unless there are more incidents indeed. THR Moo now up by about 0.4 of a second and doing pretty well as Alif Hamilton is going to start being forced to drive a little defensively. Some small mistakes creeping in, allowing the front 4 to bunch up and provided that Moo doesn't absolutely run away with it at the front of the field, I actually think the front 5 or 6 here could stay bunched up for a considerable portion of the race.
Yeah, Maulana there, to be fair, at least didn't make any mistakes. It was Maulana that went in really deep, but he didn't lose too much time. So he's kind of got away with that there, which you can do at turn number 1. You can run a little bit wide. But yeah, just Alif Hamilton will be a little bit on edge from that because he will now be expecting a potential dive bomb. So that may change the driving style here of Alif Hamilton, whereas he might have just decided, you know what, I'm going to stay behind Moo and just drive away. As Moo makes a mistake there, runs out wide. But again, it's a cambered corner, multiple lines through there, should be okay. He might now feel like he's got to press here to get into the lead of this race because unfortunately with Maulana, in behind him, showing that he is not going to be too worried about who's in front of him and whether he can just get the dive pulled off or not. Yeah, it's just going to put a little bit of a different spin on today's race. But just in behind him is Daniel Shields. He'll want to try and get back up a position into the top 3. Remember, only the top 2 qualify. It is just so brutal, the format now at this stage of the competition. But we didn't have this stage of the competition last year. It was all time trials up until this point, or up until the regional finals. So it's nice that they've got that racing option. And John, it is still close here. Moo is not doing what I thought he was going to do. I thought he was going to drive away, but he's still pretty close to the rest of the pack.
I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how this pans out, Luke, because Moo is maybe gaining a tenth or two lap after lap, but what we were a little bit afraid that he would actually just pull a second, pull 2 seconds out, and that hasn't been the case so far. So I'm hoping that Alif Hamilton actually puts a little bit more pressure. We've seen some minor mistakes coming out from Moo. Those start adding up over time, and if it helps keep the car behind in the slipstream, then I am all for it to get some tight racing at the front of the pack. It's about 8.5 tenths now, that gap, but behind him, really, I'm looking at Daniel Shields, and when he might be fancying himself a move on Maulana, who has made a couple of small mistakes as well. Both, all three of those cars actually more or less within a second of each other. So still plenty to go before we start to see what I would describe as a definitive order or definitive running order in the first part of this race. 16 minutes left to go in this race now, approximately 20% complete as the drivers move onto that really, really long, massive uphill straight.
Yeah, 16 minutes to go in this race, and well, it's the top five separated by 2.5 seconds, and you know, normally you'd think being top five, you know, you're just going to take your time here, just try and keep yourself in a good position. But they have to finish in the top two. So Mashishi may be starting to make some moves here. Daniel Shields makes a big error here. Doors should be wide open for Mashishi. Mashishi on the brakes early. Shields runs wide again and up towards the chicane. It's only going to cost them both time now. Daniel Shields just about hangs on to that position. So Mashishi had an opportunity there. And I'm telling you now, John, when he first appeared in our racing leagues, he would have dived up the inside there. He would have taken him and another driver out in the process of that, and he would have ended both people's races. This guy's really grown. He's still a young guy, but he's been known as a major player in the time trial scene, but his racecraft has improved so much over the last couple of years, and that's just a sign of growth from him. It's cost him time, ultimately, but, you know, his integrity is all intact.
And watching this fight unfold as well, because Daniel Shields has so much wheel-to-wheel racing experience. This is, if we do see the move, it's not necessarily going to be clear-cut. I think Daniel's going to do a phenomenal job of defending and holding every line he possibly can. So potentially watching some wheel-to-wheel action later on is going to be an absolutely delightful sight. And indeed, the viewers will have their appetites whet by that as well. Maulana still cruising behind Alif Hamilton and keeping him in check here. Alif not really able to run away and try and close up further towards Moo, having to look a little bit in his rearview mirror. But Moo he's opened up a small but noticeable gap. It's just under a second and a half in places on the lap now. And I feel like Moo, not necessarily comfortable, but there's breathing room now for example, a minor mistake like you were talking about on that cambered corner in Sector 1. That's not going to cost him someone right on his rear bumper anymore. He's slowly starting to get a little bit of change in that lap time.
Yeah, spot on. And actually, if anything, it is Alif Hamilton is under the pressure here. You know, half a second behind him. Maulana, of course, we know loves to put them under pressure, puts drivers under pressure in front here. And, well, I've never heard of Maulana, and I was assuming that he was just a good time trialer to get that qualifying time. But his race pedigree has been absolutely spot on here, and he really is piling the pressure. So potentially a new star on the horizon for the McLaren G Challenge. And if he's going to have to beat someone, he's going to have to beat a huge name within the Logitech McLaren G Challenge, a world finalist from last year. So that is the carrot right now, not only to qualify for the regionals, but ultimately to beat someone who's been there and been further in this competition. What a feather in the cap that would be for Andika Ramat Maulana. But as it stands, Alif Hamilton, it's not done yet. Alif Hamilton is holding on. He is leaning on that experience right now, and he is leaning on that talent. It is Moo, though, that leads 1.3 seconds. It's just edging it out sort of 1.5, 2 tenths of a second every single lap here. Then we've got Daniel Shields, Mashishi, Luis Moreno are your top six. 5.8 seconds separating them all here. And actually, it looks like Moreno just dropping off the back, and actually so is Mashishi, dropping off the back of the top four. So this is the real battle here. This is the bubble right now. This is all or nothing, John. As you know, they've been through weeks, months of preparation for this, of qualifying, of practice, and now it's their moment. Is it going to be Alif Hamilton? Is it going to be Maulana? Or are we going to see a mistake from Moo and both of them go through?
With the lap times this close, I mean, all of those possibilities are on the table now, really, Luke, aren't they? It's fantastic to watch. Only 6 thousandths of a second separating Alif Hamilton and Maulana on that previous lap. And we've also got Mashishi in the process, I think, of fighting for 5th and 6th place as well, which is going to be good news to Daniel Shields, who was thinking about having to defend against Mashishi, but suddenly there's going to be 3 cars there contesting for that 4th, 6th, fourth, fifth, and sixth positions. So plenty of action in the top 6. And further down the field, we also see, in terms of lap times, several cars lapping in the 119s behind cars that are lapping in the 120. So changes of position here, looking good going into the mid-race.
Yeah, talking about change of position, you're right. PvP On is making a proper move here. He was one of those drivers that was in the 119s. He's definitely quicker than the driver in front, which is Jason Tay. But again, not really much of doing here. It is that we want to be keeping an eye on, really, the battle between second and third. But we will just momentarily look at this. Doesn't look like there's any mistakes happening here, and they're all good. There's action in behind them as well. So we've got T-Beth, who's putting on a driver of the day performance right now. Remember, he was P21 at one stage here on lap number 1 after qualifying in the top 7. But I tell you what, it is super close between these two drivers. And I was talking about turn number 1 when Maulana went in really deep, and I was thinking that, you know, that was a mistake. Seems like it's his intended line. So that's the line he takes through turn 1. But turn 1's got multiple lines you can take, and you can indeed gain as much time as whether you took a wide line in there.
It's really quite it's quite nice to have those kind of corners in motorsport. You don't often get them. They're a little bit of a rare breed, but corners where actually, depending on your driving style and depending on what you want to do, you can take multiple lines, or you can go for one line, make a minor mistake, and then adjust and move on to another. They're a delight for drivers to experiment with and drive on. It also means, of course, Luke, that you get potentially different lines for qualifying and race, depending on what you want to do with the track as well. I wish we had more of these in motorsport. It's quite fun to watch.
Yeah, I do. Again, it's also one of those circuits where Sector 1 is so difficult to make an overtake, but there are plenty of overtaking opportunities in Sector 2 and Sector 3. So it's kind of got everything, this circuit. That's why it is one of my favourites. Also, apologies to anyone that was thinking that the stream was stuttering there. I just had about 1 minute 30 seconds of the worst hiccups ever. It felt like my stomach was going to fall out my mouth. It was horrendous. So yeah, don't change your television sets or your computers. That was just me. That was horrendous. But I'm all good. Back to normal now. And we've got a 0.3 of a second battle between these two here. P2, P3. It's close. Alif Hamilton, of course, got the experience, been there before, done it, got the T-shirt, literally has got the Logitech G Challenge 2019 finalist T-shirt. That is a fact. But is Andika Rama Maulana going to stop him from reaching the regional final for the second year in a row? He's closing in. He's closer once again here, up towards turn number 1. Again, taking a tighter entrance through the corner. And then Leif Hamilton's going to be thinking, is he doing this on purpose? Well, he is. And there's debris on the track there. Half a car on the track there. That's not good. There'll be some fans around the circuit there trying to pick themselves up a free bumper. It's a very expensive one. You wouldn't want to put it on a Ford Focus, that's for sure. Up towards then the chicane we go. And, well, Alif Hamilton's still holding on. Again, that 0.4 of a second advantage. And, well, Maulana is being very patient right now, but we're getting to the phase of the race here where if Daniel Shields or Mashishi starts to close up, he's going to have to really assert his pace. He's got to try and make a dive at some point, and we are going to see this get more desperate and more desperate and more desperate as indeed the race goes on. They're only 2 seconds behind the race leader here, and actually there's a mistake by Alif Hamilton. Maulana just gets on the brakes there on the grass ever so slightly, enough for him to step the rear out, and we come through the double left-hander here. One more corner to go around this circuit, and wow, let's see what sort of lines they're both taking here. So Alif goes in, yeah, he does. He goes in nice and deep as well. Goes to the apex early. We saw on PlayStation they weren't. They're going very, very late to the apex here, but that's not maximizing your speed for sure. And I tell you what, Maulana's got an absolute worldie of an exit here, closing in that slipstream. And this is as close as he's been so far. Is he close enough to make a dive? Don't think he quite is. He's late on the brakes, though. And is he going to force Alif Hamilton into a mistake? No, he's not. So Alif Hamilton, again, showcasing his skill set. But all of a sudden, these two are now going to be put under pressure from Daniel Shields as they start battling. And, well, John, with about 7 minutes, 40 seconds to go, this is about to get fascinating, in my opinion.
It really is, and a couple of updates from up and down the field as well. Daniel Shields has started to drop Mashishi a little bit. Mashishi seems to be lapping, unfortunately, about 0.4 a lap behind Daniel Shields right now. So Daniel's in a bit of clear air and has managed to steer clear of that fight. T-Beth, unfortunately, who was all the way up into 12th on your timing screens, has sadly come into contact with another car or made a mistake and is now back out of the top 16. So that potential driver of the day performance that I was really looking forward to announcing his name in the top 10, unfortunately isn't going to happen today.
I love that. He's he's crashed and or made a mistake. Well, all of the above. Yeah. Or he might have disconnected. Who knows? It could be one of the loads of different reasons. But it is a shame. Like you said, John, you know, he didn't have the greatest of starts, but he persevered. He was trying to get himself through the field. It's not quite worked out. We just saw Leif Hamilton make a mistake there and run wide. And I'm wondering whether that might potentially be a slowdown penalty. Again, let's watch them come through the first sector here, and then we will check out a little bit more of the field here. Of course, we want to try and showcase everybody, but this battle is just so close, and this is what it's for. This is the final qualifying position as it stands, so it's kind of important that we do keep on board with this. But we will look a little bit further back down the order, as it looks like there may have been some incidents here. Melvin Moe is down in P19 now. And well, no, that's definitely not the right way round, and also not going very fast around this circuit. That is a very sick McLaren. Let's go a little bit further up then. We've got Key, who is in behind Yodo Man. So they're not that close realistically. Burnout then is in behind. Oh dear, he's up ahead now of Blue Black. So Blue Black, who's actually gone for the Blue Black car as well. You've got to respect it. You know, if you live by the sword, you die by the sword. If you live by the blue black, you die by the blue black. There you go. He's gone for that coloured car. Big respect. But yeah, nothing's really as close as this battle here. So this is for the final position to qualify.
Well, it'd be interesting to see exactly what the penalty for Leif Hamilton is, because when you have another car exactly half a second or less right behind you, yes, Leif Hamilton just got that penalty confirmed. So a 2-second penalty when someone is half a second on your rear and you're fighting for the second qualifying spot, that is going to be absolutely huge. Leif is now effectively going to have to get 2.5 seconds ahead. And the way Maulana has been racing, I just don't think Leif Hamilton can do it right now. This is big.
It's taken the complete pressure off of Maulana here. Maulana doesn't need to make the overtake now. He knows if he stays within this sort of region here, he is golden. But the one thing is, he doesn't want to make a mistake himself. So, yeah, as you can see, he has no penalty next to his name. But, yeah, so there was a penalty for Leif, and you see Leif pushing the boundaries now. And the last thing that Leif will want is a penalty for track extension to be what cost him the chance to go through to another regional final. But as it stands with 4 minutes, 40 seconds to go, that is going to be the exact reason as to why he will not be with us for the rest of this competition. And well, Andika Ramat Maulana, he's got to take all of the credit, because he has not given Leif Hamilton a moment's rest. He is stuck right underneath that rear wing. He has put the hard work in, and he's not been impatient either. He has stayed behind him. He's not tried to force a move. He's not tried to create any contact. He's just had a very, very well-studied drive here. And as it stands, he's going to get his just rewards. Half a second the advantage here. And actually, Leif Hamilton did just pull that gap out ever so slightly. So now, as they would say to Lewis Hamilton, it is hammer time for Leif Hamilton. He has to find all of the qualifying laps that he's been practicing for in the race right now. Ultimately, you don't want to be doing qualifying laps in the race. It's too high risk, high reward. But right now, he needs that high reward.
A couple of thousandths of a second as well, just separating Moo from Leif Hamilton on that last lap. So you can see that Leif is pushing, looking for that, but we need a little bit more than 0.2 per lap, unfortunately, to try and gap the car behind to a point where that penalty isn't going to matter. Maulana being very, very measured and very mature here, not going for any sort of heroics and just trying to stay within touching distance, as long as Daniel Shields doesn't close up too much. And you can see the plain white car there, ominous in the distance, but a full 2 or 3 seconds behind, meaning that actually, as long as they keep their current pace, it should be fine. But if they start dicing for position, then suddenly Daniel Shields is going to get a look in.
Trying to keep an eye on this penalty here, because I think Leif may have another one. It's not come up yet, but I think maybe he's got away with it. But he did indeed cut the double right-hander at the top of the hill in Sector 2. He ran out wide, and normally that does indeed incur a penalty. As they come across the line here, we'll just check one more time. Of course, I want to try and give everyone as much action as possible. It looks like he's got away with it, but that would have just, Maulana would have been in absolute dreamland, and actually, that would have brought Shields into play if it was a 4-second penalty, because Shields now would be hoping for a mistake from Maulana, or these two to get together, and then he would be able to take advantage because of Leif having a bigger penalty. But as it stands, it is still between these two drivers. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remains on the clock here for our PC qualifier. Top two qualify through to the regional finals. As it stands, it will be THR Moo, who's now in behind traffic here. And now this is not what you want to cause you any problems. So he's in behind traffic, and that car's off the circuit. So that is not ideal. Leif Hamilton coming through now. And that car is missing the whole front of it at this point. Look at all that boot room in there. And they'll be hoping that he doesn't get out of the way.
just off the racing line there and needs to stay quiet so that both cars can get through. But yeah, plenty of room for the goldfish and change there, Luke. And that looked pretty clean. I don't really think that cost anyone time, but it must be so frustrating when you're still focused on racing at the back, and you don't just have to mind your own race. You have to show respect and mind everybody else's as well. If anything, despite not being at the front, you're actually having to do more work and be aware of more things. It must be quite a difficult position when you have to multitask that much.
Well, you wouldn't have planned for it because it's only a 20-minute race. You would never have planned for it. THR Moo would have been furious. The one driver that would have been happy with that situation would have been Alif Hamilton. He would have been hoping to get that car between him and Maulana. And then hopefully Maulana slows down sufficiently enough because of the back marker to cost him 2 seconds. That has not worked out here, so it's all good. We'll check out the timings once again. So it is 2 seconds here. Alif Hamilton has to find 2 seconds with what we think is 1.5 laps of this race remaining. And actually, Moo is catching up to another back marker here. So Alif Hamilton's going to be pretty happy with this as well. And that is a very sick-looking McLaren. And over that's 2 of them as well. So, again, a 22-driver grid is such a narrow circuit. We were speaking earlier about it being pretty much a karting circuit, but a bit bigger. And Moo, well, he is going to be, again, furious here at this point. He will not want to be dealing with this at all, but he's going to have to. And you can see that Alif Hamilton in the background will probably hope that they catches up. He'll want to try and catch up to these drivers here so he can indeed try and get that 2-second advantage if these split them. But Moo's all good here. He just needs to take his time. He's got plenty of time to work with. Doesn't need to be aggressive. And you definitely do not want to go around the outside here, around the final corner on a back marker, that's for sure. Because if they do indeed use all of the roads, you are in trouble. And as you can see then, Moo has been let through by 1 driver. And actually, he's going to let all 3 go through. That's really, really good stuff there by that back. Fair play. You know, big respect there. Who was that? It's Redent. So he's actually even retired from the race. I think he just realised, you know what, I'm in the way of the leaders now. I don't need to be getting involved with that battle. But Maulana has lost a bit of time here. It's now 1.4 seconds up to the leader. So Moo has been caught. So this is it now. Alif Hamilton has to get this done. And he's got to hope that McLaren gets between the both of them and it doesn't. Maulana will stay in P3. And Moo was nearly caught then by both of them because of the back marker. It's such, Sector 1 is like impossible to let someone go past. So it's not the back marker's fault. Of course, his intentions are perfect because as soon as he had the track to do so, he removed himself out of the way. But now the front 4 are very, very close. It looks like THR Moo is going to be golden here, but is he going to be shook up a little bit? Maybe a potential for a mistake to slip in here. Say Moo has been at the very top of his game on Project Cars 2 Esports, but never qualified for any major competition. Finals. This is the first opportunity for him to showcase his skills for Team Highlands Racing as he comes around that final corner, and there's no final hurdles for him because he is now going to be a regional finalist then here in the Logitech McLaren G Challenge. He takes all the spoils. Alif Hamilton's going to finish in second. And well, his run into the regional finals is going to come to an end because of a penalty here. Andika Rama Maulana, who didn't look like he had any contact with anybody else or any potential incidents, has finished in second spot. And well, we said that Alif Hamilton and THR Moo would be the favourites. We've got an underdog story here, ladies and gentlemen. Andika Rama Maulana. Remember the name, because it looks like he is headed to the regional finals.
Alif Hamilton and Daniel Shields, at least provisionally outside the top 2. Who would have thought it? THR Moo and Maulana through as things currently stand. What a fantastic race. And all 4 of those drivers finishing more or less within touching distance of each other, penalty or not. Really, really tight at the front. Fantastic racing throughout the field. We did have incidents as well, so our initial prediction of an action-packed race certainly didn't go unnoticed, but it appears a lot of that was actually in the second half of the field and further down the order. All in all, a tremendous race, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what Maulana can do in the regional finals.
Yeah, superb stuff there from Maulana. Took his opportunity really well. And again, the Logitech McLaren G Challenge just showcasing that there is new talent out there, giving them a platform to indeed grow. And well, it's just the beginning here now for Andika, and we're going to see what he can indeed achieve over the next couple of months. Superb stuff there. Shout out to Daniel Shields and Alif Hamilton. They were giving it absolutely everything from start to finish. And unfortunately, that 2-second penalty is going to cost our world finalist from last year the chance to defend his crown as the regional winner of the Asia Pacific region.
So that was the end of the PC race, ladies and gentlemen. We had THR Mu, of course, taking home the spoils in what was a less comfortable than we thought first place, but nonetheless, that gets him through. And Dikarama Maulana will line up alongside in the regional finals in second, Daniel Shields and Alif Hamilton in third and fourth. Mashishi, who was threatening for so much of that race but dropped off towards the end, will finish in fifth, and Luis Moreno will be right behind him. We then have 130R's Mitch and Burnout completing the top 8 before Jason Tay and PvP Ond finish top 10. Tremendous stuff there, and it does mean, of course, that we have finished our 3 races for the day. Provisionally, at least, we've got Fens, Monkey Matt, either Rango or Trimax Carter, Stewards pending, THR Mu, and Maulana moving through to the regional final. So all of those results, of course, are provisional, pending stewards' inquiries and stuff like that. But I have to say, Luke, we've had 3 tremendous races today with lots of action up and down the field, actually, in all 3 of them. Sure, some were cleaner than others, but all of them were very, very exciting. Sugo has certainly served us up a treat.
I love Sugo. Sugo always serves up that treat. I think the biggest story here today is the 2 regional winners last year from North America were X-Wolf and Operator. They've both qualified, so they could indeed defend their crown. Asia Pacific, we're going to see officially a new regional champion. Simple as that. Alif Hamilton is no longer in this competition, and that is a huge story in itself. So opportunity for a new driver to take that crown.
We will see what ends up happening as we move forward to the regional finals, which will, of course, be in a couple of weeks' time. But let's not get ahead of ourselves because we still have more quarterfinals for you. Let's go ahead and take a look at the schedule for next week. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be back on Silverstone. Really looking forward to this. We have the EMEA regional finals next week, where we're going to be sending a couple more drivers from Xbox, PlayStation 4, and PC through to the European regional finals on one of the most competitive race circuits in the world. I cannot wait for that. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Luke, is there anything in particular that you want to call out from today, or that you're particularly looking forward to maybe for next week in Silverstone?
Well, I think the narrative that we are creating opportunities for new drivers in the sim racing world has just been proven there. We are going to have officially a new champion from the Asia Pacific region. But I think the big story for next week is it is the highly most contested region in the world in the McLaren G Challenge in Europe. And they've only got 1 position on each platform to qualify as, because there's so many wildcard options. So yeah, that is crazy to know that only 1, especially on PC, is going to qualify through to the next round. We've got drivers such as THR Wolf, JK16, we've got Nade, like some of the best drivers in the world on Project Cars 2. I'm not going to make it to the regional finals. Blows my mind.
The competition will be fierce. Only a couple of spots remaining. And then, of course, we've got 1 regional quarterfinal after that before we move on to the finals themselves. So that's what you can expect next week. Make sure to mark it in your calendar. September the 26th, we will be doing the EMEA regional quarterfinals. Now then, it's been a tremendous week of racing. We've had 3 races on Sugo, and it really has lived up to expectations of being not only a fast and flowing track. We've had mistakes, we've had drivers punished in pretty much all sectors of the track, and lots of action up and down the field in all of our races. Congratulations to our provisional qualifiers. We will get confirmation of them later on, so make sure to check out and watch Logitech G on social media. But for now, we look forward to EMEA next week. Thank you very much, Luke Crane, for incredible commentary as always. I've been your host, John Sargent. It's been a fantastic week of racing, and I look forward to seeing you at Silverstone next week. Goodbye.